Hello, welcome. Phil coming to the Devil's Night episode of Pubcast because it is October the 30th. We're recording this episode on October 30th. So you're listening to us from the past because by the time this comes out, Halloween will be come and gone. But anyway, um,
The veil is so thin right now.
Jesus Christ. I
It
mean,
is anyway.
yeah, I mean, look, where you live, the veil always feels like it's quite thin. Um,
Mm.
but look, as always, the ladies have made the effort and I put on a coat. That's pretty much it.
It's a nice
Them's
coat.
the rules at this stage, Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I only when Jill messaged earlier on, like, you have your costume ready, and I just happened to have this draped over my chair, and I was like, yeah, I have a jacket. I got them jackets. Um, but look, fair play to you. You look fantastic, as always. But and I'm here. So welcome to Pubcast.
This is my ancient elven headset mic. We all get them in the woods.
Yeah, it's like they're all in their Britney era.
Yeah, my horns are wired for sound.
Oh Jesus. So oh
Oh,
dying
Let
already.
killed
my let
you.
my lungs answer that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so
I'm
yeah,
a
here.
random. Go on, Wayne.
Well, I'm just saying, here we are. It's Devil's Night. We're recording a podcast twice in a space of nearly 2 months, which is a rarity of this year, but we're doing it. And
Yeah.
we have to do a Halloween one because we always do a Halloween one, because Halloween
Yeah.
is special in our hearts. I mean,
Yes.
Jill just didn't really bother. She just kind of got up as she is. This is just Jill without the makeup, having a
This
day,
this is
really.
before I normalized myself and took my ears
Yeah,
in and
Yeah.
hide these guys.
yeah,
Although legit the clothes I have on are mine.
Yeah.
Um because Dems to breaks.
yeah.
Um what was I going to say? I interrupted you there, Wayne.
No, you
Yeah,
didn't.
it's
On
spooky month
this
on
podcast?
this. It's spooky month. Have you been watching like spooky shows and movies and stuff in the well, like Wayne, you keep horror all year round because horror is what you love in your soul. Um
Yes, it's in my heart. It's in my heart. Sorry,
um
I've just told my wife that the remaining wine in the in the bottle of wine is hers, and she is dancing around the kitchen. So there you go.
happy wine dance.
Happy
Yeah.
wine dance. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I do keep horror in my heart, 365, 24/7. Um, but yeah, we have watched a couple of spooky films over the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks for sure. What have you guys been watching?
What are your favorites out of them, Wayne?
Well, yeah. So, what have you like? I have a cadre of different films that I've watched over the last while for horror stuff. So let's
Yeah.
dive straight into it. What have you guys been watching? What have you guys been watching?
Well, in my house, uh, in my friends group, I'm an absolute normie who has seen zero horror movies. But in my house with my family, I'm an absolute out and out horror aficionado compared to what they've seen, including my other half.
Hmm.
So, as anyone who listens to the podcast will know, I introduce one classic every Halloween. But
Right.
uh, this year I decided I'd stick on a kind of a family one, Ish. Kids are getting a bit grittier now, so they're not
Which the old
easily.
one or the new one?
Yeah.
No, no,
Which
no,
one?
no, 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 no. What? How did you mishear that? I didn't. I was introducing something to the family. I definitely didn't mention it. I'm not
I thought you said
showing
it.
I thought you
my
said it as
10-year-old
well.
is. No, I hadn't mentioned it yet. I was building up to it, like
Oh,
it's like
okay.
a
Okay.
Sorry.
dramatic bit.
Right.
But no, I showed them Beetlejuice,
Okay.
and it was interesting
Oh yeah.
from my perspective, uh, it was a shame to see it in such high definition because how much the post Dietz house looked like a matte painted set. That
Mm.
was unfortunate because those visuals stunned me, as a kid, and just how dark it fucking was all of a sudden. But I'm not gonna go into all the hard-worn tropes of how hot everybody is, but the the kids had 2 points. Number one, second sandworms this month because we watched Tremors there a little while ago. And secondly, they thankfully just don't appreciate how much of a sex pest Beetlejuice is. He just looks like he just acts gross and they think he's gross. But
Right.
his directed sexual harassment at Lydia went over their heads. So it just seemed like he was being gross in general. But I had forgotten how late it is in that film before he shows up.
Oh yeah.
And because we've been kind of rehabilitated by the cartoon, I had forgotten they didn't have so much chummy time before it all went wrong. It pretty much goes wrong immediately. He doesn't do anything good. But yeah, they liked it. They loved all the Calypso. I was horrified to find out that the only reason Harry Belafonte is in that movie is because they found out that it was really fucking cheap. They'd wanted something else and they couldn't afford it.
Of course.
So, I mean, that was how many white people were introduced to Harry Belafonte,
Through that
Belafonte
movie.
by Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Definitely me.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. So it was good. My kids were horrified by the Deetses, and it was fantastic. It was great. They're really about as bad as people can get.
Well, I mean,
Also, I
it's
used to work on
yeah.
Cape Cod, and people would move down to beautiful shingle houses in Cape Cod and do that shit. So
Yeah.
I've seen that. But yeah, Catherine O'Hara's such a ride. Anyway,
Oh,
uh,
that film is responsible for my crush on Catherine O'Hara. That film.
Yeah.
the,
can
the way
understand that.
her fucking lipstick.
Yes.
Whoever there was
Perfect.
probably one person on lipstick.
Yeah.
It was their entire job, reapplied every
Yeah.
14 seconds
She
because it
she
is
Yeah.
flawless.
it's
Yeah.
just a
So
case of like I know the character was a complete basket case, but
yeah,
that whole like that kind of pale gothic kind of look, yeah, the kind of like this older lady looks really interesting. What's going on? Why do I feel the way I feel? What's happening to me? But yeah, like that's phenomenal stuff. And like if you think it, like you're right, the cast in that film, it like and if I don't know if either of you have seen the sequel.
Yes.
I'm not going near it.
Yeah.
I
I
watched
got
it
the
over. I watched it
patented
the other
Kim
night.
whiff. I figured it might backwards pollute the
Yeah,
first one.
100%.
Am I right, Jill?
No, I don't think so. There were elements of it that I really enjoyed. And some of the characters in it were like Justin Theroux is an absolute dickhead in it. He's the Otho of the new movie.
Oh, very good.
Well, in the terms that he's a kind of a horrible character. And no, I enjoyed it. It was wonderful kind of seeing everybody back on form. Did you watch it, Wayne?
I did.
What did you think?
I thought it was garbage.
Did you?
Thought it was absolute garbage. But there you go. That's my take on it. I just thought it was a pure like, and the thing is, cash in is not the right word for me because it's been so long since the first one. They're not cashing in on anything
No.
Yeah.
apart from nostalgia. But that's a huge selling point, I guess. But no, I just felt that there was a lot of characters in it that just had no point, and there was one bit I loved because it came out of nowhere, and what it was referencing was the Mario Bava kind of tribute when all of a sudden Beetlejuice starts talking in Italian and it turns to black and white, and Monica Bellucci is kind of Black Widow wife.
Did they waste Monica Bellucci? Because that's actually illegal.
They did waste her. She did nothing. She walked around for the entire film.
Yeah, she said very little. She walked around. I was joking with Liam. I was like, "Is this the start of Tim puts his new bird in all his movies?"
Yes.
Is he
Him
with
and Monica?
Bellucci?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Men,
Yes.
men, it's not about your height or we just love things.
We just love a little strange.
Little things. me like things. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's
Fucking
it
hell.
yeah, look,
I better not tell Brazzy that. He'll be mad for a week.
I said it to Irene and she was like, "What?" She couldn't, because like Tim Burton to me now looks like you ordered Robert Smith off Temu. That's what Tim Burton looks like now.
Yeah, yeah.
And he comes with the radioactive kind of infection that you get stuff off Temu. That's the kind of, so
And all your
whatever.
data stolen.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it's like, okay, love is love and all that, and people fall who they fall for, but there's also where you see situations when you kind of go, okay, but the film
He's got
itself.
he's knowable. He's knowable.
So tell me, why did you fall for him? Why did you fall for him, Monica? Well, you knowable. He's
No.
knowable. He's knowable. Do you mean noble? Do you mean noble? No, no, knowable. I'm
Knowable,
knowable. I'm
knowable.
knowable. Knowable.
There were parts of it that I did like. There's a bit where Telia and so Catherine O'Hara and Winona Ryder are on the porch and they're talking, and Catherine says to her, she's like, "Where is that annoying teenager that used to give me shit all the time? Like, you need to cop on, because Lydia, like, when you think about her in the movie, the original movie, she was quite sure of herself and
Yeah,
sure of her in her weirdness.
yeah.
Whereas she's not like that at the start of Beetlejuice.
Oh, you'd hope for some growth in
Yeah,
30 years.
It's actually more regression than
it
growth,
is
actually.
regression. Yeah,
Oh
it's
no.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like when Delia says to her, like, where's that kind of headstrong teenager that used to give me shit all the time? You need to go find her.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting bit. The one thing that, like, I know the fan base have been giving out about it. Oh, okay, sorry. So the fan base were going mad about the fact that Adam and Barbara aren't in this movie, which is
Yeah.
fine, because no amount of de-aging, I think, could do Gina and Alec Baldwin justice.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, they were literally a one-liner out of Lydia's mouth, whereas the dad, yes, it was stop motion animation and there was, the other version of or whatever, there was a lot more time spent on that character
There
than I
was.
thought there would be.
They could have, and I actually, I mean,
Jeffrey
right,
wasn't back, was he?
well, no, here's the thing that, and everyone, I think we've actually talked about this before. Maybe when
Yeah.
they announced Beetlejuice, about Jeffrey Jones being
Oh yeah.
a convicted pedophile.
Yeah.
And but like, they had his likeness in the film. They had a claymation
Yeah.
version of him. You see him getting eaten by a
Oh.
shark as claymation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then his character moves through the story in a certain situation, and then the character finds a little bit of redemption towards the end of the film with Catherine O'Hara. Winona Ryder really represented the audience in this film because she went around the entire thing with a look of pure confusion and bewilderment on her face the whole time. Like, every facial expression, it was
I
just
can't
like,
picture that.
what the fuck is going on? And it was just,
He was doing a lot of this.
Yeah. And it's just,
That's hard to take because of how on the ball she was. She was the one who understood everything from the beginning.
Yeah.
In the
That's
original
what I
film.
mean. Like,
Yeah.
that was the flip with Lydia. It was like, what's going on here?
So it'd be like fun if they didn't have the Beetlejuice character and call it Beetlejuice.
yeah, like the whole thing with her daughter as well was very much a sidetrack. There was two to three different plot lines going along at the same time, and I felt none of them served each other well at all whatsoever. And they managed to mishmash them all together towards the end, but in a very kind of like happenstance. They just happened to fall into each other at the end of the movie. There was no natural driving storyline there that made them all end up in that one spot. They just so happened to be there.
Right.
I think Michael Keaton tried his best, But even at that, in parts, he just seems to sleepwalk through parts of it. And again, this is just my opinion.
That's
Like,
a
I know,
shame. Yeah.
I'm not trying to shit on the fact that you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, more power to you.
I
To
did.
me,
Apparently, Keaton is quoted as saying he would make another one every year. He had so much fun doing it.
Oh
yeah, I mean,
wow. But
how
that's
could you not
always the
have
way.
fun?
If the
Yeah,
actors have fun, the film is shit. And it's a fucking sad fact. Every time you hear the actors talk about how much fun they had on the set, the outcome is dire. And that's sad. Very sad.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So no, look, I wasn't expecting the world going into it, considering the first one is so classically brilliant. I think it's
Mm.
probably, personally, I think it's Burton's best film, the original Beetlejuice. Um, I think Burton can be
He
very much
really
a
did
one.
something, and that thing flies along, man.
Yeah, no,
Zip,
the
zip, zip.
first film, yeah, because it's so
Yeah,
original and it's so different, and I think his trademark weirdness is very much embedded in that movie.
yeah.
And
Mm.
there's a level of creativity to it that I will give him credit for. But I think from there on in, it's a one trick pony after that. Every film that he does that has that trademark Tim Burton weirdness is like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's the spirals. Here's the weird twiddly designs that look like
Here's Danny
Quentin Blake.
Elfman on the score.
Here's
Danny
Danny. Here's
Elfman.
Oingo Boingo weren't paying enough royalties, so Danny Elfman's doing another soundtrack. But Danny Elfman is brilliant. Don't get
He's
me wrong.
good.
Danny
Yes.
Elfman is
He was at
Great.
New
fucking
York Comic
amazing.
Con this year.
Mm.
What? Oh,
Yeah. I didn't go
that's
see
a
him now,
segue.
but like,
No, but it's a segue. We want to.
But no, I personally felt that this was just they got like what's her face Jenna Ortega, because everyone was like, oh, here's the new weird girl.
Yeah.
Let's slap her in there. She's Wednesday Addams. Let's put her next to Winona Ryder. So, and I think they tried to give her kind of a plot point that was interesting, but was so transparent, and you knew exactly where it was going from the get go. And it was like, okay, interesting. And as I kind of feared, they kind of turned Beetlejuice into a little bit of a hero for a chunk of the movie, rather
Interesting.
than being the kind of the anti-hero villain-esque kind of character. So, and
mm.
then in the end, then he took. But I mean, look, it made money as far as I'm aware, so they will make a third one. I remember it's a true sign, and like I know Jill, you said you loved it, but I was at Dr. Sketchy's
I said I
Halloween
enjoyed
thing.
it.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna
No,
say.
I'm not saying that you're championing the film, but I know you enjoyed it. I didn't in any way, shape, or form. I just sat there and was like, but I was at Dr. Sketchy's Halloween Beetlejuice themed thing a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. Me and Helen went, and they asked at the start of it who's seen the new film, and half the room put their hand up, and then it was like, who enjoyed the film, and nobody put their hand up.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was like,
Oh.
oh, that's a
Oh.
yardstick. That's a yardstick right there. So yeah. Well, look, that's just how I felt about it. I just felt it was very much a cash in long after the cash is long gone. But like I said, it did
Mm.
make money. It made money. So what the fuck do I know? You know?
This is it. The weirdos that all want their franchise stuff, and yeah, let's see if they make a third one.
It might be attractive to teens that hadn't even seen the other one.
How? How?
Jenny Ortega is very popular with the youth,
Yeah.
and teens also go see things that they don't have a lot of context for.
Mm,
They're lacking
true.
third places. They literally go anywhere, Wayne. They'll go hang out at the petrol station if they have to. But I find that they're making another Venom movie. Teens go to the cinema and they don't give a shit what they're watching.
I saw that a third Venom film came out, and I'm looking online on social media,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere, and people
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
raving about it and saying how
And we've never met a person who watched any of them, but I reckon it's the youth.
I've seen the first one, and I've been meaning to watch the second one's with Carnage in it, right?
yeah.
Um,
The second one has Carnage. Woody Harrelson plays Carnage. know?
Wow. I'd let Woody
okay.
Harrelson make Carnage. What?
Really?
What?
Really?
Fuck yeah.
Really?
Fuck
That's-
yeah, Woody Harrelson.
That
Fuck
sounds like
yeah.
a
In
That's
his shorts and his
borderline.
little fucking round sunglasses? Fuck yeah.
In his shorts and his
Oh,
round
have
sunglasses.
you seen his jumpers? You seen that man's taste in jumpers? That man doesn't give a fuck about anybody. Do you know how attractive that is? He's just walking around. Just look up Woody Harrelson's exes. I'm not out there on my own.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we were just wondering about Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci, and now it's like
Yeah.
Woody
This
Harrelson jumpers and short shorts. You know?
I
Hell
did.
yeah.
I even though he's dead in the movie, I did appreciate the casting of Santiago Cabrera as Jenna Ortega's dad in Beetlejuice, because that man is
Yes.
very handsome man.
Yes.
Very,
Yes.
very handsome man. He was
Well,
in it, wasn't he in Star Trek Picard, and
he was.
he
He
was
was
in
Aramis in the Three Musketeers.
the
BBC
Three Musketeers TV series. He was fucking great in that.
fucking great show. More people
It
need to watch
was
that show.
yeah, and it only ran for 3 seasons, and it's probably 10 years old at this stage. But it
Jesus,
was
I never knew it
awesome.
existed.
Peter Capaldi is Cardinal Rishu. Get it
Yes,
into you.
Kimbo.
Get it into
Why
you.
is
Kimbo,
somebody-
Kim, bring
Yeah.
a hard drive over to my gaff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll sort you
Yeah.
out.
So he
Um,
was on the set of filming the Three Musketeers when he found out he got Doctor Who. And
wow.
there was a kid who was like a runner on the show next to him as he got the text message from his agent saying you booked it. So he turned around, he'd been talking to the kid and he asked the kid what he liked, and the kid said he liked Doctor Who, and he says, "Get your phone, let's take a picture." And he was like, "Why?" He says, "You'll find out. Look, just be cool. Let's take a picture." And he took a picture with him and sent the kid on his way because he just found out he was the next Doctor.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's cool.
yeah.
Speaking of other spooky stuff, I have been using October as an opportunity to catch up on the Mike Flanagan series that I hadn't seen. So I watched Midnight Mass 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Hoovered it up.
So good.
Hoovered it up.
So
And
good.
I really like Hamish Linklater as an actor. He's been in a few things and he's great. But and also I think I'm in love with Kate Siegel.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan's wife.
Mike Flanagan's wife.
I have to look up Kate Siegel.
Oh,
she's gorgeous.
Jill, have you seen Flanagan's first movie called Hush?
No.
You should check it out because stick it on the list because it's Kate Siegel in the main role, and she plays a deaf mute who suffers a home invasion.
Oh hell, guys, yeah.
And it is fucking.
Well,
it's
that's
an
a
hour.
real happy one.
It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's all meat. It's brilliant. And it was her first thing they did together. And there's a couple of familiar faces in it as well. If you're a Flanagan fan or Flanagan, but highly recommendable. Yes, no, go on, please gush about Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. There's such a level of kind of unease and tension set from the very start. I love how Mike Flanagan's series are scored as well. Whoever gets to work on the music, brilliant. I think the Newton brothers worked on the Midnight Club because I have that on vinyl because it's great. But Midnight Mass, the creature effects are so good. Like,
yes,
so good. And this idea that this priest genuinely believes that it's an angel and it's going to bring them salvation. And then the turn and the realization, actually no, these are all fucked. And I love Rahul Kohli. He's a British actor. I first saw him in iZombie, and then he's been in, I think, tons of Mike Flanagan stuff. And I love him as an actor, and he's really good as the sheriff and that. And even just talking about like being a man of Pakistani descent in America, and like how he ended up in the position in his role that he's in, how he ends up on the island. But it was such a good, and it's only like, I feel like it's only, is it 7 or 9 episodes?
Seven episodes, yeah. 7 episodes.
It's real short, but like every episode is like an hour or slightly more, and they get so much in there. And Henry Thomas is one of my favorite actors since watching him and all the Mike Flanagan stuff. He's Like he is far from the little boy in ET, but like his acting chops, particularly in that and The Fall of the House of Usher, he's brilliant in. Like he's
Yeah.
a bastard in Usher, an absolute bastard. But he's so convincing and so good. So I caught up in Midnight Mass, and then we watched. Oh, because Liam has downloaded is it a new anniversary version of Alien Isolation? So we watched Alien and Aliens the last couple of nights because we were like, they're horror. And they're great.
Mhm.
And then last night we watched the new Crow movie.
Tell me.
So
How
this
bad
is
is
what this
it?
is.
It's
This
not
is
the
Sorry to
worst
be a
Crow
hating ass
movie.
bitch.
It is
Look.
not the worst Crow movie. That is still Wicked Prayer.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's the Boreanaz one, isn't it? That's Boreanaz one.
That's the
Tara Strong.
Boreanaz and
Yeah.
Edward Furlong one.
I did Furlong. Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
Yeah, it's like when it comes to you all know I'm a fucking Crow stan. Although I could only watch one episode of Stairway to Heaven before I turned it off because I was like, nope, not having this. But I no.
Not even Mark,
But I've
or not even Mark the Cascos could save that. Not at all.
But I've watched all the movies, read the comics, beyond the original Crow series. And this new movie, there's some bangers on the soundtrack. They were fucking luring in the guts with that. There's Gary Newman, there's Joy Division within the first half an hour. So you've got Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs playing the wonderful star-crossed lovers, Eric and Shelley. Part of the problem, I think, is they decided to pick those names for those characters. Like Eric and Shelley in the new movie, they don't even have last names. So it's like
they don't reference that he's Eric Draven.
No, and even in the credits, they don't have last names.
Interesting.
That's
and it's because I can understand why everybody saw the look and was like, who is fucking Machine Gun Eric? What is going on with him?
Croast Malone.
Yeah, well, you see, I reference Machine Gun Kelly because he annoys the shit out of me and he actually has no talent, whereas Post Malone is talented. Machine Gun Kelly is one of those people who just throws shit at a wall to see what sticks. First he was a fucking rapper, then he was a rock and roll star, then he dated
He came
a
for
Kardashian.
Eminem and he got his arse handed him so bad he left the genre.
Yeah, exactly.
He got fucking bullied by Eminem, his all-time hero. Amazing. Absolutely, utterly deserved. 10 out of 10.
He deserved it.
Jesus, Wayne, I sound like such a hating ass bitch on this episode. I hope it's going to change before the end.
It's the dark witch makeup. That's what it is. It's
yeah.
kind of, the fact that you look like you're in Blair Witch 3 in the fucking gaff that you're in as well. Like, I mean, just like if you've actually moved to your left as the child standing in the corner.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a reveal back there at some point.
Yeah, you can actually. There's actually, weirdly enough, there is a bit of a shadow in that corner that we could probably convince people is a small child. But anyway, yes,
there could be a small child there at any moment. Rebecca,
you didn't see nothing.
So yeah. Anyway, Bill Skarsgård I love as an actor anyway, so I can't fault his. Like there are some really good bits in it where, like, when spoilers, they die, and oh yeah, before I keep going, spoilers, everybody, I'm going to talk about this movie.
Yeah,
it's all right. I don't think anyone's really actively going to see this movie.
There's some people on my timeline who went to see it, and there's one of the lads, actually, he was
friends of yours went to see The Crow. What?
I know. There was one lad who he was like, it's actually. Now, I would say it's not a terrible movie. He would say, oh, it's a really good action movie. If they didn't call it The Crow. And they could have gone down the route of doing an alternative Crow story, picking different names for the main characters.
There are plenty of. There's a lot of other Crow comics that they could adapt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much Crow lore out there that they could have picked, but they didn't. So they went down the route of picking the Eric and Shelley names, which was silly, I think.
Start.
Bad start. And they I don't know, I can't even remember if they had it billed as a revamp or I think a retelling. I remember seeing, which is silly because they have completely different backgrounds. They meet in a different way.
Alex Price was fucking annoyed. He was
so annoyed.
really annoyed. It was fun to watch him on Twitter, but he's so fucking mad.
And but parts of it, like when the period in which the two main characters kind of get to know each other and fall in love, I think it's supposed to have happened over a weekend. If they had maybe taken a bit of time and said, oh, that happened over a couple of weeks, it would make it a bit more believable. Danny Houston was the baddie, and they introduced a supernatural element to his character, which I don't know why the fuck that was necessary. So the deal with him is that he was sacrificing souls of the innocent to the devil so that he could stay alive and stay on Earth. And he had this mystical voice. He'd come over and he'd whisper in your ear and he'd convince you to do a murder or whatever, or murder yourself. So your soul would go to hell and he'd get to
do
stay.
A murder. Do a murder. Go off and do a murder.
So yeah, so that was his deal, which was weird. But like there was a bit where after the main characters die and Eric shows up in kind of this limbo area, and there's a guy there explaining to him what he is, which I was like, actually, I don't hate that, because otherwise how is he supposed to know where he is and what he's doing? And you carried a great sadness with you, so in some cases you can go back and get retribution, or you can go back and put the wrong things right. So there's this kind of guide in limbo who's telling him basically you can be the Crow. There's an awful lot of shots in the first 40 minutes. I just think Rupert Sanders wanted to see Bill Skarsgård shirtless and tattooed a lot. Now, I'm not complaining. I am
just loads of man ditties nonstop.
Just him with no shirt on a lot. At one point,
I like when pervs make things with adults in them. I'm rewatching the X-Files, and I'm like, God bless you fuckers who realized how hot these two were. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting the story, but thank you for everything else. You didn't have to do that.
I did my rewatch a couple of years ago, and I feel bad because I got as far as, was it season 9 where they got Annabeth Gish and what's his face Patrick in instead, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done for now.
No, that's
I haven't
fine.
gotten back to it.
You're like, I feel so bad. I only watched 9 seasons.
I didn't mind. We're going to get segued here because you brought up the X-Files and you start talking about Doggett and you start talking about other characters, and I'm just going to want to talk about it. So let's not segue into the X-Files, because that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, parts of the movie were good. There is an excellent bit where he shows up at the opera house and does some murdering.
This is the bit I heard people touting as, this is what we want, but we want that for the entire film.
Yeah, so that's your Top Dollar's boardroom scene.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, so he's sent back to kill the people who killed you, not kill all the henchmen who were just standing around the opera house.
Well, he does kill all of Top Dollar's flunkies in that scene in the original Crow as well, though.
He does. But like there's a YouTuber, I don't know if you watch, is it Screen Rant, who does the pitch meetings for movies?
Yeah. He left Screen Rant, he's independent now. We love you, Ryan.
He is, yes. We love you, Ryan.
You, baby.
We watched the pitch meeting for The Crow immediately after watching The Crow last night, and was like, Yeah, actually, there's a few bits that he points out that you're like, why did you do that?
I get afraid if I'm about to do a podcast with you guys, I won't watch the pitch meeting for the movie because I don't want to accidentally pass off Ryan George's observation. I want to make sure whatever you're getting is what I noticed myself.
Yeah.
You know, I wait till afterwards, then I absolutely watch it.
Some of the effects were really good. I liked the way he used tattoo ink to give himself the crow makeup. It was a nice addition. But yeah, I think it would be so much better. It would have been so much better if they had just launched it as a new Crow story, ignored the names Eric and Shelley.
Yeah. This
And
is the same old dance. I remember us talking on the podcast about Wolverine.
yeah.
And it was Wayne, what's the one where he's working with samurais?
Oh God.
That's the Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
Okay, the Wolverine. And we are all the way back there going, do the fucking stories properly. The ones you're adapting, adapt the whole fucking story because somebody actually made that make sense at some point.
Yeah.
Or leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And do your own thing. But no, they want the name recognition and they also want to just do their own shit at the same time. And it's really irritating because you're going to guarantee that somebody's going to watch that movie once. You're going to make all those fucking electricians and all those craft services people and all those fucking hairdressers, you're going to make them work that hard for a movie that diehard fans of the film 30 years ago are going to see once and leave disgusted. I mean, obviously they don't plan that. But at some point, I thought the industry was full of notes. Where are the notes? Or are the notes don't follow any narrative structure?
I have a theory about I've been thinking about this a fair bit because I've been looking at a few things online lately of how they're trying to get people back into the cinema.
Yeah.
And how they're kind of trying to grab people in. And I was thinking about this in the vein of Beetlejuice and The Crow and a few other bits and bobs, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same old that nostalgia will sell. It's just a thing. Nostalgia will sell. And at the heart of it, it's easy. It's can be cheaper depending on what you're trying to resell or repackage. And you have us now, right?
Yeah.
And it's a whole society thing, right? I can't get the fucking word out. It's a society thing where you have us as grown people, full-time jobs for the most part, like we're earning a wage or where we can spend money. And the world in its current form is a fucking dumpster fire. So people take solace in where they can find their things. We kind of touched on it in the last podcast where we talked about our dopamine levels and getting our hit of joy. And this is in ways tied to this. Looking at the fact that we have the new Beetlejuice film, that's a particular niche of people who want to go see that movie. There's a Crow movie that came out that because it was marketed really badly and because the information that was leaked about it, how the story was driven, blah, 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 the big fans of the original, because that has got a serious cult thing around it because of certain scenarios and certain reasons. But still, they're constantly trying to repackage things that are newish but old. And I was seeing it the other day as well, looking at the Paramount Plus app. My daughter's gotten big into the Turtles, but only one. She loves all variations of the Turtles, but there's one particular variation that she adores. And I only realized that it's the one where Sean Astin was Raphael. So you're talking maybe 2000 2008. It's really fucking good. Seth Green played Leonardo at season 2. After season 2
I watched that series. It's good.
It's really fucking good. But to drive the point home, looking at how many versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon there is since the 80s, there's about 5 or 6 different versions.
Yeah.
Of the same idea, multiple versions of it. That is generational. They've just brought out a brand new Transformers film, Transformers 1.
Yeah.
That I've seen it. It is great. It is really good. It's a great origin story that's all about Transformers. But again, Transformers is an 80s franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we are so deprived for our we're so as a society, we are so kind of needy for our hits of joy that Hollywood or any media kind of production outside of maybe a few blips here and there, there's always going to be that 90% of the media we consume from movies and TV is
Yeah.
always going to be that rehash, rebuild,
Well,
sequel,
like
rebrand.
they've been doing remakes forever. Like people
They
don't know
have.
Scarface is a remake. They don't know High Society is a remake. They don't know
The,
all these
the thing
stories
is,
are a
the thing
remake.
is a
But
remake. The thing is a remake.
Yeah.
the thing is a remake.
Yeah, thing is a
That's
remake
new to me.
of a 1950s B movie.
Yeah, it can be
Yeah.
done. It can be done. Everybody wants their new generation of thing. But one thing I've noticed, Wayne, is when I was a kid in the car in the 80s and 90s, I heard a song, a new song, I was singing along. And my mother would recognize and go, "Oh, that's a real old song," meaning it's the cover of an existing song. And when I
Mm.
tell you I fucking hated that song then, like I was so arsy about it. I'm like, kids now are not like that because they have access to all music at all times. And
Mm.
if they hear something they like, they'll go listen to it. If they
Yeah.
see, if they, some fucking, it used to be that you could only be a cool guy if your big brother or sister lent you stuff and you could find bands that your friends didn't know about.
Mm.
And now people will just like anyone can tell them that something's good and they'll just go look. They'll just
Mm.
get it. They'll just download it. They'll just watch it.
Sure.
So the remakes were more necessary when we didn't have access to the original.
Yeah.
And now if a kid fucking if a 20-year-old hears about Tremors, they just watch Tremors.
Mm.
They don't need a new Tremors for them unless you're going to put Olivia Rodrigo in it. That does change things. If it was Olivia Rodrigo and let's say Renee Rapp and they were Val and Earl, they would go see that for that
Sure.
reason. Otherwise, they just watch the original. And like, it's us that they're after with this shit because the kids will just watch
Yeah.
anything that
Yeah.
comes out and judge it on its merits. But Turtles is a perfect illustration of it going right because uh, all versions of the Turtles are good, apart from that one. It wasn't Michael Bay.
Yeah.
It wasn't who?
Michael
It was.
Michael
It
Bay.
fucking
So,
was.
and I'll say this to you, Kim. The second Michael Bay Turtles film was actually good.
Right.
The first
Right.
one was garbage.
Yeah.
The second
Rough.
one was
Yeah.
actually a solid attempt at a turtle story. They had Krang, they had the fucking the drone, they had the whole thing like.
Yeah.
But the latest iteration of Turtles that came out by
Yeah.
Seth Rogen,
Great.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It can be done.
And,
Just
and
don't piss us off.
it actually stars Post Malone. Post
Yeah.
Malone is actually in the new Turtles film. But
Yeah.
Somebody
uh,
was
yeah.
making a list of movies on Twitter of movies with a jump scare cameo. And they had the turtles in there. Who pops up in the turtles? Oh, there was the My Style movie where Harvey Weinstein is a character in it. There's there's Lance Armstrong showing up in Dodgeball. There's all these, but
Chuck
there was
Norris
a
shows up in
Turtles one.
Dodgeball. Yeah.
I wonder who it was.
Was it
Anyway, I'm
Vanilla
gonna look it
Ice
up.
by any chance?
No, Vanilla Ice is fine. He's flipping houses and behaving himself and thriving and living in his lane. He loves it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
he's flipping houses these days. That's what he's up to.
but yeah. So like, I mean, I think I I just feel that looking at everything like I think I had this conversation with you, Kim, once years ago when we were hammer drunk in the
Probably.
401 about we were talking about music as a whole as a kind of a thing, and I don't think this applies nowadays. I think the music industry is very different nowadays. But back when we were into all the bands that we were into, when people are complaining about the fact that the shitty pop music that's out there, I kind of made a very drunken point. I don't remember how uneloquently I put it, but I said there's a reason why that there's a ridiculous amount of shitty pop music. that people have to, the kids buy to throw up the charts, is that the only reason that you get those indie bands invested in is when the labels make loads of money off the shitty bands to then
Yes.
turn around and say,
Yes. Yes.
we're gonna pick one or two small
Yeah.
bands to invest in them, and
There
they'll be
is-
the indie hits.
Yeah, they are going to be the zeitgeist, and there are very few organic movements like that. And it is sad as you get older to realize how many of those things were driven by the press or by the record
But
companies,
I
and to
will
realize
also
that like the whole point of the bluegrass shit and the fucking hand clapping Lumineers bullshit was because Mumford and Son had one of the Mumford and Sons dads owned 250 radio stations.
Yeah.
Like we didn't
Yeah.
all of a sudden like fucking clappy white boy bluegrass. Why? No. We didn't do that. You made us eat it. Ugh.
Yeah. But I mean, that being said, then didn't you have Chappell Roan doing her thing? Because, you know, she used to sing outside parking lots on a keyboard.
We love a meritocracy.
So, you know, and
Mm.
yeah. I'd say, yeah, you can be cynical about it, or you can go watch the new Transformers film and go, that was fucking badass, but Chris Hemsworth is not Optimus Prime.
Oh,
know?
he does the voice. Oh,
And
Chris
you can
Hemsworth isn't a lot of things that they cast Chris Hemsworth is.
Yeah.
People need to fucking relax.
and you can hear him try to be Peter Cullen as well. So
He's a
Why
good
would you aim
himbo
so
in
high?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah, he is
No,
a
no,
fantastic
Fabulous
himbo.
himbo.
Yeah. Fantastic
No,
himbo
no.
in Ghostbusters. So Jill,
Yeah.
to drive that segue all the way back to The Crow, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like, do you think it's worth a watch?
If you suffer through wicked prayer, give it a watch.
That's such a very small group of people.
That sounds like a Chemical Romance song. If you suffer through wicked prayer.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to see it because morbid curiosity, Crow Stan, all that kind of stuff. Some of, like I mentioned, some bangers on the L soundtrack.
I think they have to, by law, have to have a banging Crow soundtrack. Like every all of them had to have like, even I love the City of Angels soundtrack. That's got some fucking great.
Dude, I still have, when I was clearing out my CDs, I kept my Crow CDs because I have the Crow soundtrack, the Crow score, City of Angels soundtrack, City of Angels score, Salvation soundtrack. And I don't have anything past them. But yeah, the music on the second Crow movie is really good. Like whole cover Gold Dust Woman on
yeah,
that soundtrack. Yeah, it's
really
a fucking
good.
great cover.
Really
there's some is it Linda Perry does a song called You Knock Me Out, which is another great one as well. But yeah, so a few bangers on the L soundtrack. Some of the Crow mythos is good, but then I found sections of the movie frustrating. Like we kind of finished it and was like, well, like I said, like I opened with, that wasn't the worst Crow movie. So yeah, I'd leave it up to the viewer.
It's so sad, isn't it?
I don't think it's a must watch, but I think we also went in with like low to zero expectations and were like kind of pleasantly surprised. Like we weren't going in expecting this to be a replacement for the 1994 movie, which, you know, I used to watch it religiously every year on Devil's Night. Parts of that movie are fucking garbage as well. The fucking special effects are janky as fuck when you look at them now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, considering it's a late 90s movie, they are quite janky. I had, the first time I saw that movie, it was a pirate tape I bought from a back of a car in a market in Whitehall in a fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I thought this was the way the movie was meant to be because it was unfinished because Brandon Lee had died. But then I got like the proper VHS of it. Then I got the proper DVD and the Blu-ray. And my Blu-ray, I very luckily got signed by James O'Barr, so I was like, but I don't know if I'll sit through it because that movie is very dear to me as a piece, and I think any kind of attempt to redo it
Yeah,
was, I think it
you know
was.
better.
Yeah.
I just like in Jill. Jill is I know you're a huge Crow stan. I know you've got a lot of love for that movie. I just don't. I don't think I have the energy to sit through a really shit
Well,
partial remake of a film like that.
that's the other part of it as well. I think as you get older, you value your time. Like I used to be the type who, oh, yeah, I'll finish this book. No, if it's shit, I'll put it down 2 chapters in. Sorry.
I did it
Yeah,
with
that's it.
Ernest Cline's Armada. Got fucked against the wall. Fuck that noise. No, bag of shite.
TV series, I'll give you 3 episodes to get me. And if you don't get me after 3 episodes, fuck off. Agatha nearly got it. And I'm glad I stuck with it
really?
because just there were parts of it that kind of annoyed me that it was just it just kind of
shit.
It didn't overwhelm me. And I'm glad I stuck with it because the most recent episode, Patti LuPone,
Don't say too much
was amazing.
because I'm on episode 4.
Okay.
Well,
something. Yeah,
you know Patti LuPone is a ledge bag.
Yeah.
And she gets her episode to be a ledge bag is all
good, because Patti LuPone has been pissing me off. Because in the scene where they were a band, she was playing little ding dings and not audible on the track.
Yeah.
And where they were singing the ballad, she sang like in a character voice, and I'm like, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off.
Sing, bitch.
I think.
And in 30 Rock, she's in 30 Rock, but she's playing Judah Friedlander. Jesus, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten the character's name. Frank's mom. And she sings like, she's such a fucking good actor, that bitch, that she sings like a mom would sing on the like SNL like Mother's Day episode where they all have their moms on. So she's like, well, moms from New Jersey can't.
Both your cameras are frozen.
Oh, no.
Both your cameras are frozen.
Oh, mine's not frozen.
There we go. You're
Mine's
back.
not
You're
frozen
back.
for me.
You're back. You're back.
But in the scene where they have to sing a song and the moms get a line solo, Patti fucking LuPone, and I know she did it because she understands character so well. She went, well, this character is a mom from New Jersey. She's going to sing like a mom from New Jersey. She's not going to sing like fucking Patti LuPone. So Patti LuPone is there playing in my fucking face going, ha da 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 with a da. And I'm like, I know why you did that, but that just pissed me off so much. And she's just like, oh, my character wouldn't sing well. I'm like, I'm so mad at her. And actually, I was mad at Abbott Elementary too, because they Cheryl Lee Ralph just fucking talking. She's fucking talking. Just talking like a teacher. And then in season 2, they're like, oh, Kim, it's okay. It's okay. You can relax now. We're just going to have her sing for a solid fucking episode. Like, good. Because you were pissing me off. But if you are putting Patti LuPone on my screen and I cannot hear her sing, then you're playing in my face. So I know that episode's coming because I can't stay off Twitter. So I'm going to be happy about that. Unless you're going to tell me, never mind. Because she's singing in a character voice so far. She's not singing like Patti LuPone sings. So
yeah,
we'll
I'm
see.
not going to say anymore. All I'm saying is the most recent episode, you get payoff.
I'm glad nobody's actually spoiled it. They've just been putting up pictures of her and going,
she's a mensch.
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
And that's what you want.
Good.
What I will say that, I mean, I can get why some people might be turned off by it because the plot is paper thin, but it's so character driven. Like, it's all about the characters.
It's like RD&D, Wayne. I can't get enough. I love it.
Hang on. Are you saying the plot in RD&D games is paper thin? How dare you?
I'm saying you probably have a very good plot. I'm saying
we just don't stick to
it. Your players
we go plot
are very surface level.
Yeah.
We're not opening every chest in that room. We're not going, Wayne, are there doorways to the south and east of me? We're not doing that. And
darling, we don't need to do
sometime.
it.
Yeah.
We don't mean to do it. It's just we can't help it.
And it does. In fairness, weirdly enough, the show does feel like it's some form of D&D quest or
Yeah,
TTRPG quest because
Yeah.
it's a
absolutely. And
bunch
I
of
fucking
yeah,
love it.
it's a mishmash of characters that are just thrown together and like spearheaded by Catherine Hahn, who was just like, oh my god,
Yeah. There were,
and
and
everyone.
I think what frustrated me a little bit was like, as you say, the plot is paper thin, so there were quite a few things that I called an episode or two in
I'm
advance.
so
Yeah.
glad to be dumb sometimes because I'm having a great time. I don't know nothing until they
Yeah,
spoon it into
You're
my
fucking
face.
Jon Snow over there.
but that's it. Like, I mean, a lot of the time that
Don't
is where
want it.
people like that's. I think we've said this before, where like people go into stuff and like it's a case of if you know how structure works in certain pieces and script writing and all that stuff, it can ruin
Mm.
stuff for you. You see
Oh,
where the wires
absolutely.
are,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and it can ruin things. It really can
You know,
ruin
the
things.
the shot going to go above the mantelpiece in
Yeah.
Act One. It's like, oh, I know what
Mhm.
they're doing with that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like having just being just a punter, being somebody who's just there to have a good time. And I
Mm.
suppose I tend to turn that part of my brain off when I'm watching horror, which is probably why I love horror so much. Although sometimes it clicks back on by itself. It's annoying. But I think like Agatha all along it like people were lambasting it from the get-go because it was a majority female cast.
Wayne, I
And
don't want. I don't know why they're so mad.
because
Don't
Why are
know
they
why
so
they
mad
think
though?
everything has to be for them.
Why are they
Why?
so mad
yeah,
though, Wayne?
yeah,
Wayne,
it's
Wayne, will you talk to the men and ask them
Wayne, will you
why are
tell
you
them what
so
the
mad though?
fuck?
the men
Well,
don't
you
want to
you
hear from me.
No, because you're
well, they're
you're
certainly
you're
not going to
you're
hear from us.
you're a sound ally, and
Yeah,
thankfully, Kim, I think we,
But
the men in our
yeah,
lives are better than the ones we encounter on the internet.
that's
Um,
why they have us.
but yeah, it's oh God, yeah. When you see people complain about, a thing like, oh, why is it an all-female cast? Lads, you have had fucking everything for
Just
always.
literally
Would
everything.
you ever
Relax.
just calm down?
But
yeah,
again,
Just
is it
relax and watch it.
astroturfed? Is it real? All this, I realize I fell for a few of them that didn't come from an organic place, and it's not fair that I would think the worst of what. But I think
I mean I think they kind
there's
of
a.
yeah, I mean I think they
It's kind
quieten
of
down
sad.
a
There
fair
are a
bit.
lot of men who hate women, but they don't realize they hate women. They don't
Yeah.
because that's a horrible thing to admit to yourself. So they will cover it with I feel judged by them. I don't understand them. They're ruining this game. They're ruining this film. They're ruining this TV show, and they really just hate them. There's people that I know that are married to women that hate women, but they don't really realize.
I think it's more so they probably
They
hate
think
themselves.
Mm,
no,
maybe.
No,
no, no, and it's it's kind of wild high level to watch a high level misogyny happening when the host doesn't kind of realize. They just think that woman's annoying. They just think that woman talks a lot in lectures, or they think that they just don't like high voices. Like they just
Mm.
can't take it right now because they're tired or whatever. Or they're just like, you know, and sometimes you can just really simplify it. They're they're it's like if they didn't need us to fuck, they would literally never talk to one.
Jesus
And
Christ.
when you see the way they talk to them, you realize you're like, oh, you're playing this like a slot machine. Oh, no pun intended. Conversation in, conversation in, conversation in, drink in, try and get the whole, they're not interested. Yell in her face
Yeah, yeah.
and use that in your bank of why women aren't shit and
Mm.
build and stew and fester. And then get so hateful that women can smell it off you before you even get to the drink stage.
Yeah.
And then you're too afraid to go because you've now rendered yourself unfuckable because of what you're projecting and Women pick things up, which is why I had so few female friends in my 20s, because my vibes were atrocious. And they really noticed that stuff. You're not a safe person. I was not a safe person. And so, like, if there's something scary coming off you, if there's anything seething, they can sense it because they are all witches and hags. Oh, cut that, Wayne, cut that last bit.
I mean,
Giving
given
us
entertainment,
away
There's nothing
again.
like
I mean, the fact
if
that you
you.
didn't even dress up for the night. Like, I mean, you just went in your skivvies, your normals.
I
So,
know.
mean,
I actually took
I
my makeup
know.
off to look like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm like
So-
I'm like the high witch from Roald Dahl's The Witches. I have a whole thing that goes over my face,
Yes.
and my ears and my horns get squished in.
Fabulous.
Shout out to the
Yeah.
witches, the
Do you have-
OG
do you
version
have
with
no
Angelica
toes?
Witch.
Do you have no
Witches of
toes?
England.
Just a square foot.
Just
know?
a square foot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have real toes.
The kid in the witches, the original witches, the kid, God, Roald Dahl hates fat people. Anyway, the little boy that was like mooching around and got turned into a mouse.
Yes,
He says
Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno. I was confusing him with Bruce Bogtrotter. But Bruno says margarine instead of
Yes,
margarine.
margarine.
And I don't think I can watch that film again because of that. I do hate margarine. Who was in charge that day?
Does he hate margarine on scones?
Yeah.
That's all right. That's regional. That's fine.
My daughter knows the entirety of the Matilda musical off by heart, and she loves the song about
I'm not surprised.
Banger.
Yeah.
Banger.
Tim Minchin.
Is that the one that Tim? Yeah, Tim Minchin.
Yeah, Tim Minchin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love
so
that ginger fuck.
She'll come
Here,
in of a day just belting Bruce out at the top of her lungs, screaming. So yeah.
What are you gonna say,
Very good.
Kimbo?
Oh, I can't remember who I was talking to. And I mentioned that Tim Minchin had those problems with Tim Minchin. And that person was genuinely really fucking sad. And I said, well, I don't know how bad it can be considering I can't remember what it is. But Tim Minchin's crime was being both sidesy, being cowardly, in a debate where really there shouldn't have been two sides. Maybe an artist should have been on one side of it, but he was like, hey, guys, why can't we all get along? And everyone's like, oh, you're not good people. But it doesn't take away from the Matilda musical because banger. And he didn't commit sex crimes, as far as I know. Dated as of today. So yeah. So if anyone, the person I was talking to that was really sad that Tim Minchin had done something, it's very minor. He'll be fine.
He didn't do a minor. He just did something very minor. Okay, just to point that out, just in case that was lost in translation.
As far as we know, Wayne, at this time on this date,
we're not making any allegations towards Tim Minchin. Minor. Speaking of sex crimes, I saw the new Alien.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Romulus.
Romulus. I saw it eventually. I got to see it. Fucking brilliant.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. It's kind of like Alien meets Attack the Block. That's essentially my elevator pitch for it. It's Alien meets Attack the Block. It's really well done. And Irene has just gestured that she's opening a second bottle of wine.
One each. That's the way to do it. Oh, look at the fireworks.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Fireworks, Mr. Gandalf. Fireworks.
Fireworks. But yeah, Alien Romulus. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, my dear.
Okay, I'll stick it on the list because it's I feel like it's up on the streamers, and I'd heard mixed reviews from folks. But a solid horror or action or
both,
yeah.
and it is nods and
we
winks.
love that.
So you know the way I was going on and on about nostalgia about 10 minutes ago. So this
gotcha.
Well, here's the thing: they do it right. They don't shove it down your throat. They just incorporate the world and make it real.
Okay.
They expand on what has come before. They show a lived-in world that has elements of everything from video games to the movies. They reference Alien Isolation in this film.
Yeah.
which is like they didn't have to do that, but they referenced like so in Alien Isolation, there's these save points that look like old school phones, like payphones,
Yeah.
but they've got like slots of like big chunky cartridge save things that you put in. There's a space station. The Romulus is a space station, and you see them on the walls as you see the characters move around. So like there's all these nods and winks to all these different things, but it's a very contained story that also follows on. It actually fits between Alien and Aliens. So it's a direct sequel to
Oh,
Alien.
okay.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I did
Okay.
not like, so people were lambasting it for the last 15 minutes. I had no problem with the last 15 minutes because they take
Okay.
inspiration from O'Bannon and Geiger's original ideas that they put
Ooh.
together, and they
Mhm.
do it right. Whereas in previous Alien films, like Alien Resurrection, they changed it to make it a different thing. They made it a bit more French. Um, but I loved it from start to finish. Really well put together, beautifully directed, beautifully made. It reminded me of Denis Villeneuve's approach to Blade Runner because in
Villeneuve?
Villeneuve. What did I say?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. I'm on my second bottle
Denis,
of wine.
Denis.
Yeah. Um.
You and your film so good.
Yeah. Look, I think it hopefully will spawn something else. I think the director wants to make a second one. This is the same
Okay.
director made the new Evil Dead film. I did not want to go near the new Evil Dead film. I had no interest in it
Mm.
because of Alien
There's a new
Romulus.
Evil
But
Dead film.
Well, now I say he made the new. His name is Fede Alvarez. He made a new
Right.
Evil Dead film back in 2013.
Oh
And
yeah, I
Oh,
knew about that
okay.
one. Okay, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, we knew about that.
he has consistently made horror movies. He is a horror director.
Okay.
So he made the Evil Dead. He worked on the From Dusk Till Dawn TV series. He made Don't Breathe, which is a great movie. The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo
Yeah, it's
series.
one of the Stieg
One of
Larsson ones.
those.
I watched that Dust Till Dawn TV series. Wasn't bad.
Yeah, Don't Breathe is really good as well. And his latest film was Alien Romulus. I really liked it, I have to say, from start to finish. The cast are fantastic, really relatable. There's a scene, they do things so differently. They kind of turn things on their head. They make things new in a universe that's lived in. And
Okay.
there's some great stuff in it that nods and winks to Alien, that links it with that movie, that I was surprised by, that I thought I would hate, but they handle it with such care that it's done with love and it's done well. So I'm now tempted to go back and rewatch and watch his version of Evil Dead, because if this is how he handled Alien, I'm interested in seeing how he handled Evil Dead. But no, it is really, really good movie. Well worth your time. The facehugger scene alone, just
Horror
how that's done.
is always a place to take a franchise and have a go.
Yeah.
You know, they
Mm.
really will let you have a go because horror fans are very forgiving. They're like, if they like it, they like it, and if they don't, they're not going to say, "I hope you never make another movie in this town again." You know.
Well, if that was the
Um.
case, Richard Stanley wouldn't have a career. So I mean, like, that's a deep dive for horror fans there.
Okay, I do like that. Marvel movies kind of did that a little bit. They're like, "Hey, try one of these. We have to make 20 this year, so we need as many people as we can."
I think the Marvel's foray into horror, when they did Werewolf by Night, it was good. So I mean, like, I had no issue with that. But like with this particular outing, I mean, I wasn't expecting the world. I was expecting something that was gonna like anything after the last two Alien films that were made by fucking Ridley Scott, of all people.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I think Ridley Scott is on his Pink Floyd greatest hits tour. That's what he's doing. He's going
He
back to the
has
old films.
disappeared up his own arse.
Yeah.
He's gone full Roger Waters.
Oh, full on. That's what I'm saying. Like he's doing the Alien movies now. He's back doing Gladiator, and
Gladiator, I know.
so
Oh,
he's not like he did. In fairness to him, I saw an interview with him. I don't know if it was at the premiere of this or was that some press junket, because he is the producer. It's made by Scott Free Productions, so his
mm,
company did obviously have a hand in it. But he said, "Look, I've handed it over to Fide, and they are doing their thing, and they've done it well, and they have. I can say as an Alien mark, they have. It is a great film, and it's reviewed really well. It's reviewed really well. It's done well in the box office. It deserves to, like, he deserves to be able to make more if that is what he wants to do.
Mhm.
If he wants to leave it at that, that's good as well. I think it washed the bad taste out of my mouth that Covenant and I like
Well,
Prometheus
that's
to a
good.
degree, but Covenant was just a complete misfire. But this definitely, like, the kids in this film had more sense than all of the scientists in Covenant.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
there's just a really cool dynamic in here. That's why I reference Attack the Block. If you've seen Attack the Block, you'll know
It's a
what I
great
mean.
movie.
It's a
So
cracking
good.
film. It's a really
Cracking movie.
good, like a bunch of young Londinium thugs, like that are just and headed up by John Boyega, and Jodie Whittaker's in there as well. A cracking film. If you haven't seen it, go check that
Ooh.
out. But to me, this was Alien. Romulus was Alien Attack the Block.
Okay.
Ooh, we love that.
Yeah, really, really good. So I mean, it had that feeling to it. And there's some great sequences in it, some really clever sequences that took the Alien universe and turned it on its head, as I've said. So yeah, and
Okay.
I've spoken to a good friend of mine, Adam Kelly, who's a massive Alien mark as well, like a huge Alien mark, and he agreed with me at every point. He's like, he's watched it multiple times now, and he says every time I watch it, I see something new and I get more out of it. So, really
That's good.
cracking film. Like, yeah. So do check if you haven't seen it, check it out. It is like, so you can watch Alien and then watch this as a sequel and then roll straight into Aliens. It makes an interesting trilogy.
Oh,
know?
very good. That's a strong recommend, Wayne. We love that.
Yeah, big time, big time.
I found out what the problematic cameo is in the Turtles movie.
Oh
It's
yeah,
in Mutant Mayhem, and it's Mr. Beast.
really? Mr.
Yeah.
Beast is in Mutant Mayhem.
Apparently, I mean, that year I think he showed up in about 4 films. So
See, I don't.
Jimmy getting his
Being
face
the
out
age
there.
that I am, and I know who Mr. Beast is. I just couldn't pick him out of a lineup. So I've
Can I?
seen that
Yeah,
movie
you
so
won't.
many times.
He has no connection between his eyes and his mouth. It is the fucking creepiest thing ever. If you just Google Mr. Beast smiling, Jimmy Beast would put a chill in your fucking soul. And this man, he has achieved so much by just studying YouTube. But instead of just being a psychopath who studied YouTube in order to be the biggest YouTuber, which he finally got, well done, rip to T series, he's just had his villain turn, and it's nonstop. Protecting predators, defrauding children, and crypto insider trading.
Oh,
It's just a house of cards. And that motherfucker, he just started out counting to 1 million on stream. And he just did everything. He studied the algorithm like some people study the ancient texts, and he got it all the way up there, and it's all just fucking falling down, and it is wild. And none of his fans know it's falling down because they're 7.
Jesus.
He's he's such a villain, and you just never know. This video, I'm gonna put a train in a hole in the ground. And the videos are great. The editors are obviously just on all the drugs. All the drugs. The editors work for him for like 4 months and then die, and he gets a new editor because the way they crank them out and the way they edit, like frenetic editing.
Mr. Beat editor is the same life expectancy of Spinal Tap drummer, supposedly.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Let's say
Yeah.
that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So all this talk that we've had, right, as the
Mhm.
trio over the last hour or so, where we talked about nostalgia and reliving old things. We talked about The Crow. We talked about Alien, franchises that have been around for a long period of time.
What about Beetlejuice?
And
And
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice,
I've
yeah.
tried to forget. But anyway, Beetlejuice. But we talk about how we fucking want something new. And a renowned director comes along and tries to give us something different.
Like what?
And the three of us.
No,
And-
he's
and-
not doing this. About
We
a
have
movie
to.
that was started in the 70s. This is your new movie.
Yeah.
Kim, this is part of
Come
the
on.
like this is a significant
Okay.
part of this episode. Was
Okay.
the dissection
No.
of
This was This was our homework. We did this.
He's just sitting there like Mr. Beast, smiling unconvincingly, and then he drops this shit. I know what he's talking about, folks. I'm gonna let him tell you what he's talking about.
So I'll let him tell it. So basically, we as a trio decided. No, actually, no. I said let's have a group outing, and I subjected these two lovely women to this event where the three of us went to see Megalopolis.
Megalopolis.
I have to say, can't blame you for that, Wayne. I was always going to see it out of morbid curiosity. It's a new Coppola movie.
Sure. So we went to see it in the Lighthouse Cinema. Beautiful venue. The drinks were mighty. Love the Lighthouse. And we were prepped going in. We'd heard the tales. We'd heard about the walkouts. We'd heard about the weird script.
We've seen the memes.
We'd seen the memes even at that stage. It was out about, it had been out about a week and a half, 2 weeks at that point.
Leave the memes to me.
Right. And I said to them, look, let's go see this. We have to experience this in the cinema. If we're going to have a conversation about it on the podcast, we have to experience it on the big screen. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So we girded our loins, we girded our loins, and in we went. Now, I'm going to play some audio now of us talking about the film.
The hottest take. The hottest take. We didn't even get outside. It was immediately afterwards.
We literally came up the step. And when we got there, just to preface this, we got there into the Lighthouse, and I was expecting us to go into screen 1, screen 2, maybe, right? We were put into the pokiest, tiniest fucking screen in the Lighthouse.
Intimate setting.
It was like the converted, screen 4. It was the converted wardrobe that they have for the staff cloak room that they turned into a screen, and that's where they were screening this movie. And in we went, and we experienced this film. And this is the recording of us straight afterwards, as soon as we came out, because Kim insisted, let's get our initial reactions. Let's record this shit.
Yeah.
So here's the audio. It's audio only of this particular event. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss it as a larger thing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pubcast Reacts.
Pubcast Ninja Reacts.
We've just come out of Megalopolis, the latest autorial turn by Francis Ford Coppola, who has made very good movies in the past. Wayne, what did you think of that?
Straight up? Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot, Wayne.
So,
we can talk about it properly later.
We'll talk about it properly. This is our initial, this is our literally our off-the-cuff reaction.
Hashtag hot takes.
That was the most insane thing I ever expected to watch by Francis Ford Coppola. I really didn't expect that movie. I expected it to be weird and strange and be kind of crap, but also interesting at the same time.
Yeah.
But I've never seen so many good actors act so badly.
Oh my god! Do you know what?
I've never seen such bad CGI in a multi-million-dollar movie.
I'm watching it, and I'm going, somebody told them to do that.
Yeah.
I know. Somebody
directed
them that way.
Didn't say, no, actually, that was fucking demented. Do it again.
Their delivery, particularly in the first hour of the movie, their delivery reminded me of like a bad amateur dramatics trying to do Shakespeare, because they were all like delivering soliloquies off into the fucking wings.
Adam Driver was doing Shakespeare in the Park. And actually, when the movie started at 1 hour 20, and Wayne, I think you saw me with my watch. I'm like, oh shit, it started. Okay, look at the watch. When it started at 1 hour 20, I was like, oh, I trust him to bring this home. And my brain was even going, Godfather 2 was too long. We can. He actually managed to make me go back in time and readdress his previous movie. But when I'm like, oh, okay, this is going somewhere. You needed to take Adam Driver out of that movie. Yeah. He was the problem.
I don't think he was the only problem. I don't think he was the only problem.
But he was in a different film.
Yeah.
And oh dear.
The visuals, the terrible CGI. Did you ever see The Fountain? That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it reminded me of the early era 2000s sci-fi films.
Fountain was Aronofsky, wasn't it?
Aronofsky,
Yes,
yeah.
Wayne, you told me that he'd been trying to make this since the 70s. That was the 70s movie. That was the 70s. We're going to break the studios.
Yeah.
Oh no, whoops, we all had too much cocaine.
But that's exactly what it is. So it shows that film was trying to be made in the 70s, since the 70s, because there's certain set pieces in it that reek of 70s cinema.
Also, as a woman, the fact that we can only be a virgin, a mother, or a whore, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
lads?
that's what he reduced us to.
Nothing.
And I was
There was
disappointed.
Just, I remember in the 80s movies we used to watch, I used to declare random gratuitous tit shots because, you know, there was too much cocaine and there were cannons in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, so it starts off, it's quite loose. Love that. Oh, no, it's just the birds doing it? Oh, it's just the birds doing it.
And Shia LaBeouf.
No, I never saw nothing.
Do you know? Well,
I saw his thigh.
No, he gets. There's a bit there's a bit where he gets his willy out and a bit of bush. His bush.
Too little, too
Blink and
late.
you miss it,
Yeah,
obviously.
it was. Yeah,
Also,
very
it's
much
Shia
so.
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf in his buff.
I don't know how they managed to make Adam Driver so ugly. I feel that's really insulting. And it never made me feel comfortable that a film was going to happen.
It speaks volumes that Coppola had to fund all of this himself.
Yeah.
Oh, so, that makes a lot.
So I think that's our initial reactions. We're gonna sleep on it and see what
go
the
out
crack.
into the night.
Yeah.
I think we were surrounded by people who were a bit pissed
No,
before they went in.
No, they were weird nerds and they came and treated everything like a meme, and they were laughing like it was Austin Powers, and you're like, well, no, that's
wasn't that
just
funny.
That's
that
the
was
thing. I
just
think
somebody saying
that's the key thing, and we'll go into it a bit more. But it's definitely a whole meme generation thing about this movie now. That's what it is now.
Big time.
Yeah,
So,
they really ruined themselves with their preparation.
Yeah.
And they were very fucking annoying by the end of it.
Yeah.
With their yucking.
But that was our hot take. That was what we thought initially as we came out. So now we've had time to gestate, and it's had time to ruminate percolate through ourselves. All the lates. Megalopolis as a thing.
I feel like I saw Ishtar in the cinema.
I mean, like
it was an event, but my heart was open and I waited. And I gave it a good long chance to get its feet on the ground and tell me what it wanted to tell me. And I'm like, you're going to confuse me so much that I can't concentrate on Aubrey Plaza being eaten out. How fucking dare you? How dare you? How dare, I'll never forget them. But mess.
Hot mess.
I mean,
Don't know how
like
hot it
that
was.
if that isn't a damning review, like the line, I cannot enjoy watching Aubrey Plaza being eaten out due to like
They never gave me the peace of mind. They never allowed me to feel safely in the hands of the director. You know, when you go to a concert, an amateur concert, an amateur play,
Yeah.
and the actors are nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing the lines, but you don't feel safe. You're worried about them. You're worried that something's going to happen that's going to throw them off because they're not comfortable. When they're comfortable, you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If that movie could have been for no one, making zero sense, and I would have known if it was deliberately like that. If he had a vision and it was realized, it wouldn't matter what I think.
Yeah,
but he kept trying something, and it wasn't the same thing every 20 minutes. It was a new thing every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Are you okay? If it was my kid, I'd be like, okay, breathe. What is up? What is this feeling? Tell me about this. Because right now, you're making no sense and you're wasting Shia LaBeouf's time. You made me worry about Shia LaBeouf's time.
Oh, it's Shia LaBeouf.
How inept are you? Is he okay?
Oh, wow.
Is this elder abuse that they let him do this?
Shia LaBeouf's missing eyebrows.
Like, are they trying to avoid capital gains tax by causing him to spend all this money to no avail before?
Yeah.
I fully agree with your assessment there. Watching it, I was like, this is like a youth theater or I don't, sorry. First of all, I am not going to knock youth theaters and amateur dramatic societies because some of them are fucking great
vibe, and they will get there, and sometimes they're comfortable, but a lot of the times they're not, because they're not professionals.
What it struck me was inexperienced or amateur actors trying to do Shakespeare that because they don't understand it. And that's part of the problem when you're trying, like, studying Shakespeare in, like, we all did it in school. That's the easy part. Performing it is fucking hard because you have to understand the meaning so that you can deliver it properly. And that's what it screamed to me, was they don't know what their motivation is. So they don't know what they're doing. And they can't.
They're getting different notes. It's like it's
Adam Driver was in a completely different movie.
He was in a one-man off Broadway.
Absolutely.
One-man show.
He was giving it socks.
It felt like a Whose Line Is It Anyway game where they were all given different instructions. You know, the party guest? We used to work out what their fucking deal is, but they all get
or a TTRPG where like somebody's the murderer.
That was
everybody has to work it out.
Dustin Hoffman, Giancarlo Esposito, Aubrey Plaza, and I'm gonna say Shia LaBeouf were in the same movie.
Right.
And that's a very silly movie, but I would have liked that. But wasn't it Hitchcock that says, you know, oh no, he said it the opposite way around, but I don't agree, bro. He said, I just broed Alfred Hitchcock, I'm sorry.
You did.
He said,
I don't agree.
Confuse the audience all you want, you can't bore them.
Oh my God.
But as someone who was confused for 2 hours, 20 minutes.
I disagree with a lot
I
there.
I was bored too, actually.
Yeah, it was a bit of both.
Yeah,
you're so confused that you become bored with your confusion.
Yeah.
I'm sick of my own thoughts. I don't want to be thinking my own thoughts. What do you think? I'm at the cinema.
I came here to escape from my own thoughts. God damn it.
She's a bitch.
I just felt it was the most bloated, self-indulgent, poorly acted piece of cinema I've ever experienced, hands down.
And they're good actors.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Like, there was a solid cast.
Yeah, unbelievable cast. And so there was this thing when I was a kid, back in the United States, there was a BBC kids show. I can't remember what it was. It was a cartoon of some sort, right? And in an episode of it, right? In an episode, there was a kid who got a job working in a cinema. And there was this big movie that arrived in the night before the big premiere. This movie arrived in, and he was meant to put it up onto the reel, but the reels got damaged. So he got panicked because it was his fault. So what he did was he got all of the films that they had reels of, and he cut them all together to make a movie. And tried to pass it off as this big blockbuster movie, right?
Okay.
And as I was sitting there watching this movie, I flashed back to, and the thing is, that movie then premieres the next day and is a sensational hit, and is like it goes from, and I shit you not, it goes from a political thriller to a Plato kind of tragedy thing set in Rome, to a political conspiracy, to an assassination, to a World War II movie. This is what happens in this kid show. This is the
Wow.
film that happens, right?
Wow.
And I was sitting there watching this movie, and that's what my brain went to, because that's what this film reminded me of. Because there's a moment in the film, because you were talking about Shakespeare and the inflection on Shakespeare and understanding the words before he can perform them.
Yeah.
There's a moment where he literally lifts an entire segment of Hamlet and
Yeah.
gives it to Adam Driver to
Yeah.
say,
Do
with
that
absolutely zero passion,
and
like
no
Yeah.
payoff. And
Yeah.
I
nothing.
was like, oh, it's this. Oh, this is what he's doing. Why do we start off like Blade? Why did it start
Yeah.
like Blade? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We're doing this now. Okay. I thought
Mhm.
everyone's gonna be sucking and fucking the whole time. And you're like, oh, look, I'm on record as being all for pervs directing adults only. Anyway, so yeah, but I was like, why are we doing this? What
Yeah.
what is what is what is what is
Like,
Miss Sandy doing to me? Why is she getting these fucking chicken shit rolls? Who's Anyway, I'm
like the
pretty
thing
sure
is,
she can act. I've seen her do it.
yeah.
Mm.
The film itself as a piece of whatever the fuck it was meant to be looked like, as you said, you felt like you thought we were going to get Blade. It looked like a film that was produced in the early 2000s. The
Yeah.
special effects were
Yeah.
fucking terrible.
Except the female
Yeah.
characters were written in the 70s.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, they had
what was
nothing to do.
Yeah, I think you said it on the recording
Mhm.
that we listened to previously, that if you're not a mother, a whore,
Virgin
or
mother and
a
horror.
virgin,
Yeah,
virgin mother, or
if you're
whore.
not one of the three faith, or the three kind of archetypes, you're nothing.
Yeah.
Been all of them, some of them at the same time. Ow.
And it's such an old school, small-minded idea of the male gaze and the female gaze of what the world is, and what this kind of heightened sense version of whatever the fucking world is meant to
And
be.
do it like we don't give a shit. Women don't want our characters to be these arch incredible. They don't. They just have to make sense in the world. They don't. We're
Absolutely.
not saying they can't be these things. Just make us safe that you can commit to the world you're in, and that
That's
there's
it.
a reason for this. If it's just Wayne, do you know what's so embarrassing to me forever? Two moments in my life. One I've talked about before, where I said while on a female panel at a con, where I was asked by one of the women on the con, "Are you feminist?" And I said no, because I thought you had to be an activist. I didn't realize how low the bar was to entry. I thought you had to be fucking doing something. So that's number one. Number two, I was at Vatican, or I was at an RPG convention, and there was a Les Mis themed LARP. And we were quite excited about that. The general populace, we were quite excited about that. We thought that was going to be cool. And we got up there.
As the general
Yeah.
populace were in Les Mis. Yeah.
I think you mean fewer miserables. Anyway, so that's a joke I saw. That's
Fucking
brilliant.
Yep.
So
Let's
we
build
get
a
in there,
barricade and get over
and
it. Okay.
it was very, very popular. Maybe more popular than the writer thought it was going to be. So I think he had to come up with characters rather than turning people away. I think he had to come up with characters. And a woman called Sarah, and I can't remember, if I find her, I'm going to fucking thank her for the rest of my life. She went up to him and says, "What is this shit? Why is every woman in this thing?" She's like, she literally went around to all the women and asked them to see their character sheets.
Yeah.
And they were all prostitutes. Now I'm saying
wow.
prostitutes. I'm not saying sex worker, because this was the late 90s, and that's what they were called on the piece of paper. They were all, now we know there are sex workers in Les Mis and in Victor Hugo. We know that. But all of them? But I think the fucking guy didn't realize how many boards there were going to be. and he had to just kind of quickly come up with, before he got his submission list and was like, oh shit. So I do think he was copy and pasting a bit. But she went up and she went, what the fuck is this shit? And when I tell you, she was the only one who noticed. We were so used to playing characters like that. I did a riverboat LARP hooker. I did a Firefly LARP companion. Like, they were written by dudes who had seen women in popular culture, and these were the roles they had. I love fucking westerns, and it's really hard to watch some of them now with the female characters. They're just getting kind of, they do nothing, and then they get like thrown around and kissed roughly by either the hero or the ruffians in the town. Like, everyone's kissing them roughly when they don't want to be. It's horrible. But anyway, Sarah, shout out. You're the only one who fucking saw it. We're all just, oh, this is a meaty role. I just have to walk around with the boobs. I didn't even notice, never noticed. I'm like, this is a well-written character. But like, that's, time is moving on. And I understand that it's scary for people because somebody on Facebook yelled at me for calling myself a dog owner. So the fact that I owned the dog.
Oh, it's because it because you didn't call yourself a dog mom?
I don't think she wanted that, but I honestly don't know what she wanted. But I think people who feel like they have to change their lives now because of woke, that's the closest I got. And sometimes people say something, you're like, what? Sometimes it's a bridge too far for you. Some people it's having women in media. For me, it's being accused of enslaving my dog. So, there's a big gulf between those two things, but everyone will find the thing that's a fridge too far for them, and so we have to give them a little bit of time.
Also, just for the record, Maxwell is well looked after.
He is. I got him anti-slip socks because we're after polishing our floor by accident.
Doggy socks. Oh.
Our laminate floor, we polished it.
We just went from the worries of being called a dog owner and not a dog mom to saying I bought him anti-slip socks in a matter of minutes. He was slipping
when he was trying to eat. Oh,
I mean, I have that problem at my table in my general day to day.
Right, I'll get you some anti-slip socks.
Like what? But yeah, look, Megalopolis is a piece of shit. So like, Kim's not a dog mom. This
the
movie
pitch meeting
I would
say
on. Don't waste your time, listeners and viewers.
But here's the thing, though. I would not say that. I would say,
really,
go experience this piece of shit.
Sunday afternoon,
experience
hungover to fuck. Experience beat. Oh, with that makeup. Jill, that's perfect.
Experience.
I think you could watch Megalopolis while experiencing BJ's.
Oh yeah.
That's a bit too on the nose though, because like that would fall well into the plot of that film.
It's amazing how many films get real good if you're being blown during them. Like it just there's movies that have been elevated in the lore anyway. So yeah.
That is not the turn I thought this critical review would take.
Yeah.
But I mean, from everyone that's in it, right? From everyone that's in this film, the actors that are involved.
This film does not deserve this level of discourse.
No.
It doesn't in any way, shape, or form. And here's the thing, right? Coppola is an extremely well documentedly credited director. He has made he's made fucking Oscar-winning films. To this day, I think his version of Bram Stoker's Dracula is a cinematic masterpiece because of the art direction alone in that film.
I have to watch that sometime.
Yes, Kim.
I think we need to watch it together and do a commentary.
Do a commentary, yes.
Oh,
definitely. I love the way.
Oh, it's not available on any of my streaming services.
I don't know.
So it's gonna have to be an in-person.
I have the 4K fucking 4K cut, the Blu-ray thing of it. Like that thing is a work of art. It is a work of fucking art. I saw it in the cinema
Okay.
in '92 when it came out, and my dad. It was the first 18 rated movie my dad brought me to see. But he was like,
So what
"Oh,
age were you then? Because I was way too young to even go to Dublin by myself.
Yeah, I was
born in-
8.
well, I was young enough. I was born
That's
in '78.
92, was
So
it?
yeah, so
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't far off.
I wasn't far off, but like it was a rite of passage for my dad to be able to say I brought my son to an 18s film, considering that he and my granddad introduced me to horror. So this was like,
And you got to see Monica Bellucci's boobs.
yeah,
Oh, there she is
yeah,
again.
there she
Oh,
is
why
again.
didn't somebody lead with that?
And in fairness, she did more in in Bram Stoker's Dracula than she did in fucking Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, she did more in that film than she did in Beetlejuice.
Mad.
As one of the brides, but yeah, it's and I've watched there's a making of that film where you see them rehearsing and the depth and the energy that went into that film, and then I look at this film and I kind of go, right,
Are you
again,
all
is
right,
this
man?
Do you think?
this
Do you
yeah
think
exactly
maybe? Do you think? Do you think El Franny is maybe just he's 85 now? Maybe he's got the old timers, and somebody should just say, "I think you should have an hour rest."
well, this was his swan song. This was meant to be his swan song. This was meant to
And
be
he's
his
been trying to
last
make
big
for
hurrah.
50 years and is still
Yeah.
garbage.
And the
off.
thing about it is, like we
Should've
talked
made
about
it with a load
Ridley,
of old boys.
like Ridley's doing his greatest hits tour. Francis is
Yeah.
doing this. Thankfully, George Lucas is just living his life.
He's on the ranch having the crack.
Oh, he's just fucking he's just doing his thing, appearing in cameos in videos online in the background of videos about chemical breakdowns, which is actually a thing, by the way. The greatest cameo of all time. We're now going to play it by George Lucas. In some random YouTube video about some guy talking about chemical compounds, and George Lucas just walks past in the background. I'm going to play it now for you folks.
And they use something they call pyroprocessing. The interesting thing is they call it pyroprocessing, but it's a molten salt process. They're dissolving this thing in a molten salt, and they're doing electrochemistry on it. Why don't they call it molten salt?
So yeah, like that's what George is doing. But these two lads, Ridley and Francis, are either revisiting the greatest hits and trying to grab back their youth for some reason, or like, I mean, in fairness to Coppola, this is he made this movie with his own money. And the problem is, though, a lot of the films he's done in the past, he made a movie with, and this is very recent, so R.I.P. Terry Garr, who passed away today, I think it was yesterday. He made a movie with Terry Garr that the studios didn't want, and he funded it himself, and it flopped immensely. Flopped hard.
Oh,
One from the Heart. Here's the thing, right? He had just made Apocalypse Now. Okay? Apocalypse fucking Now.
God.
He just made that, and this was the film he made after Apocalypse Now. It was called One from the Heart. Is that One from the Heart, and it starred Terry Garr. I think that's it. Is that it? Am I looking at the right one? I am. And it flopped. He put his own money behind it. Like, here's the cast of this movie: Frederick Forrest, Terry Garr, Raul Julia, Harry Dean Stanton,
Stanton.
Rebecca De Mornay were all the cast of this movie. Natasha, a very young Natasha Kinski, were all in this movie, and it bombed hard. And he funded that completely himself, and he lost a ton of money. He went bankrupt after making it. So that was one of the last films he funded fully himself, I think. And I'm open to be completely corrected on that. But like, you have to give Coppola's overall CV of filmmaking is extremely varied. Like, you have the Godfather films, of course. You have Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
You have the Outsiders. A ton of films. You have Peggy Sue Got Married. Tucker.
Oh, I forgot that was him.
Yeah. You have Dracula, obviously. There is, and again, there is a making of, which I highly recommend people check it out. I guarantee it's on YouTube. Great movie he made back in the 90s that I saw with a very young Matt Damon and Danny DeVito, and Danny DeVito is in it as well, called The Rainmaker. It's based on a Tom Clancy novel. Really good courtroom drama. Like, he's got some really good films under his belt. for this to be his last movie, I feel does the man a disservice to himself.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's going to recoup the money, but here's the thing. This is what I was saying earlier on of it. People have to go see this film just to experience it. That is
Yeah,
what
it
people
is.
are doing.
It is genuinely a new experience. It's a genuinely new experience. Last time I felt like I was watching something genuinely new,
Yeah.
I was watching Prey, and there's nothing new
Oh, yeah.
about Prey, but it was just such
It
a
was good,
delight
though.
to watch such a simple movie with such a simple
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when people take things back to basics like that, I really love it with all the knowledge we have for like deeper narratives. But the last time before that I felt like I was watching something new was The Last Jedi. Everyone's gonna yell at me. But I felt like something was happening in my body that was different. And I love that. We call out for new experiences, folks. Megalopolis was certainly one of those. Although, well, yeah, no, it was very unusual. But I'll tell you, I would have enjoyed that movie more if Captain Hyuk could keep his fucking Jimmy Beast level sincerity laughter. He was trying to laugh at things. And you're like, bro,
So for
like you
yeah.
can laugh, but why is it being pushed so hard out of your body? Like
So for
it's not
context here,
leaving
folks,
organically. Now,
Kim
I
Kim was
mentioned it in the clip. I
yeah.
did.
So Kim mentioned
Yeah.
it in the clip earlier on, and it's so this is what I'm talking about. This film has gotten a level of memeness to it now
Mm.
that it has become that cult classic of shit cinema. Like
It
it's up
hasn't.
there with the but
Hasn't.
it has on TikTok anyway.
Oh,
Like
great.
it's up there with The Room. But you were talking like so
Yeah.
earlier on when you were talking about this the young generation now of the cinema that they involve themselves in,
Yeah,
right?
this dude was 45, but yeah.
Was he? So here,
Oh
like
yeah.
I think this movie is extremely memeable. There's segments of it that are like clips of it that are have been memed completely. Like the whole like
Mm.
go
Yeah.
back to the
Yeah.
club
Yeah.
thing. That's been taken. There are like it's segments of it that are just snippets, and that's what this film is. It's famous because of the snippets. It's not famous
Yeah,
for
but
the
that's
whole
TikTok.
pie.
They will run that sound into the ground for
Yeah,
3 weeks. They
yeah,
will retain nothing of that because there's a
yeah.
replacement. So they're not. It's not doesn't have the staying power of The Room or anything like it. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll just make a bet. If anybody mentions this film again in the next 5 years,
Sure.
I owe you 20 quid, Wayne.
I will say this. Before we started recording tonight, I was on one of the social media platforms. I can't remember what it is. And the Lighthouse
It has
posted.
to be TikTok because I'm on all the others and I
No,
fucking
I think it was either Instagram or Facebook, one or the other.
okay.
The Lighthouse Cinema posted that they are still selling out shows of this movie. Now they're
Yeah,
more
there's
than
12
likely in.
Really?
seats in that. There's 12 seats in
Yeah,
that screen.
they're more than likely in screen 4. That's fine, but people are getting the idea of experiencing this film in the cinema because of how terrible it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
weird mix of the level of acting, the level of actors that are in this film,
yeah,
and how shit they are in this film.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
like there was one piece in the film that completely threw me, but I think it was intentional, and I don't know if you two picked up on it. Giancarlo Esposito's character, the entire movie walks with a cane,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But no limp.
Well, he has a bit of a limp, and then he also pretends to his wife that he can't reach her at the end when they're on that conveyor belt thing because he's
yes,
trying to get over to her.
yeah,
Yeah.
But there's a scene in the film where he talks to Adam Driver's character, and he strides into the room with no cane,
Yeah.
unaided,
Yeah.
perfectly capable, where he's opening himself up as a person to Adam Driver's character, saying, "You got me. Let me open let me show me who I am. Just don't marry my daughter." Situation, blah 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 blah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And there was a moment of character depth there that is not
Mhm.
existent in the rest of the movie. Like this is a film. This is how uneven this movie is. This is a film that boasts a huge all-star cast, but kills Dustin Hoffman in a way that is slapstick.
Yeah.
Like it's an
Yeah.
afterthought of how he dies. It's done in
Mhm.
flashback. Like
Mhm.
he tells he's going to deal with something and he leaves, and then we find out 20 minutes to a half an hour later that he died in flashback. He got
Mhm.
crushed by a building being collapsed. Shia LaBeouf's character is a parody until
LaBeouf.
he's the main villain of the story. Like he's
Mhm.
a full-on parody of, and I don't know whether it was intentional. I think maybe it was. Maybe
I
I'm trying
just
to give.
love, yeah, he's like a fail son, like, just like the worst thing a family could imagine
Yeah,
is a gender bent party animal as a success. Why they never look to him to continue any sort of legacy.
his whole
He's mad
character
about it.
arc and his whole look and feel. I felt like Coppola watched a Baz Luhrmann movie and decided, you know what, I can do that.
Yes. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
get it. I get that.
yeah.
You
But
know,
guess
he
what?
like
Guess what? You can't.
Harold Perrineau, you are not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
that's it. Like I
You're
mean,
terrible,
You're
Muriel.
terrible, Muriel.
so like Megalopolis is a piece of shit cinema, but personally, I think people need to experience it. They
Yeah.
need to see it and they need to
Experience
understand
sheet.
experience shit.
Listen,
Opinion sheet.
if if you're a glutton for punishment, have a go at the crow.
And also as Jill said earlier on, watch Midnight Mass if you haven't seen it, because Flanagan is just an amazing director who takes horror and just sculpts it beautifully from the get-go, from everything he did earlier on, even his
He's
earlier
such a good
films that
storyteller.
like really good story.
Storyteller.
Like he
Oh,
has
it's on
some.
Netflix.
It
It
is.
is, and there's some
And watch the Midnight Club as well, and The Haunting of Bly Manor, and The Haunting of Hill
haunting
House.
of and
They're all
fall of
on.
the House of Usher.
Am I
Yes,
going to
all
be
5 of those
scaredy?
are on. You might be
Yes,
scared of them a little bit.
yes, you will be
All
scared.
right, okay.
There's also I cannot recommend his debut feature, Hush, enough. It is
I'll have a look at that.
brilliant.
I love an elf folk horror as well. So
Good fun. No,
look,
Hush is folk
it's
horror is yeah.
but Hush, like you say, is the mute lady who
A home
experienced a home
invasion story,
invasion.
and it is Katie Siegel, and there's some really cool how they handle her inner monologue is amazing. But
Cool.
it's a really cool bare bones hour and 20, all meat, like zero fat from the get go, and there's some familiar faces in there as well. Bare bone, I think there's like 4 cast members in the entire
Cool.
movie.
From the
Like
Flaniverse.
yes, it is very much Flaniverse. In fact,
Cool.
it's where he got the title for Midnight Mass from,
Nice.
because
Okay, I'll check that
she
out.
plays an author, and her book in the film is called Midnight Mass.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give
Yeah.
that a look.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
gonna
really cool
go
movie.
eat night cheese so I can gain some midnight mass.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. It's all adventures in this house.
So Kim, but myself and yourself, just to end the episode on this particular joyous moment. Well, actually, no. There's 2 things we need to cover on this thing, but they're both conventions. Why are
We
there
might.
balloons? Why the fuck are there balloons? What's going on?
Why?
I don't know.
Go home,
Is it
Zoom.
your
You're drunk.
birthday?
It's
No, it's too early.
yeah.
No, I know.
So
Conventions.
conventions happened, right?
Yeah.
Jill went to New York Comic Con,
I did.
Yes,
and we went to GaleCon.
we did.
Yay!
GaleCon 36. GaleCon 36.
Fuck
Yeah.
me. It's been running that long.
Yeah.
So
By the
Jill,
same people.
New York Comic Con, was it all right? Like,
It was grand. Like, I hadn't been at the show in 6 years, and I hadn't been in New York for 6 years. And it was lovely being back. There was parts of the city. I wandered all over the city. I think part of it was I was a little bit nervous, having watched a lot of Seth Meyers over the months. I was a little bit nervous to use the subway, so it meant that I walked a
Oh no,
lot.
they love the subway. That's why they make so
Well,
many jokes about it. The men's in the subway.
I know,
That's all they
but
talk
also,
about because they're so terrible, but they love them.
but also, if you use the subway, you don't get to see New York. So
Oh, you get to
I
see the people of New York
yeah. So
and
like
their private parts.
the first day I was there, so I got there late in the afternoon. And I went to see Drag the Musical, which was off Broadway, still in previews, co-written by the wonderful Alaska Thunderfuck. Produced, one of the many producers is Liza Minnelli.
Oh,
And
wow.
Liza Minnelli does an intro and an outro voiceovers. It is fucking hilarious.
Oh,
There
that's
are
great.
songs in that musical that are living in my brain that I'm actually going to go and look up, see if I can find the lyrics because I want to learn them. There's a great number called "Drag is Expensive," because it is. And it had a new kid on the block in it, Joey McIntyre. Shout out to Joey McIntyre. Yeah.
John, Joe, Danny.
But it was really, really good, really enjoyable. I got to see that on the Monday night. I went on a little bus tour. I went shopping. I picked up Kate McKinnon's new book, kids book for my little nieces, Pubcast nieces. I went to New York Comic Con, which was so much fun. I got to hang out with the mensch that is JP Fosgate. So I hung out at his table quite a bit. I didn't do the thing that I would have done in the past, pay for like autographs and photographs, because one, it's crazy money, like
Yeah.
crazy money. And two, I was like, I don't want to stand in queues. So I got to, do the rounds on the show floor. I got to see traders that I have bought from for years. There's a guy, Matt Lynham, who's at New York Comic Con every year. He has collaborated in the last year or two. He's done all the Cure posters for their tour. He's collaborated with Vision Video out of Atlanta, Georgia. He is a big new wave and goth fan, and it was very funny. I went up, met him, bought a print and an Elvira t-shirt that he worked with Cassandra on. And his wife was there manning the booth with him, and she was like, "What's your name again?" And I said, "Gillian." And she's like, "Gillian what?" And I had one of my little Rogue Comics cards. I was like, "It's Gillian Dempsey." She's like, "I've packed your orders." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's been a few of them." I'm like, I imagine there's not a whole lot from Ireland, and I am definitely one of them. But he was very nice. It was really nice to see him. Picked up a few purchases, but got to hang out with Jay's friends. Two of them are phenomenal artists. There's Kaylin Smith and Corinne Roberts. And then another guy, DJ, whose surname I've completely forgotten, who does a lot of kids books. And I picked up one of his books, which is like a kids book for adults. I picked that up for Liam. And that was nice, and got to see some of the Irish folk who were on Artist Alley. So Dec Shalvey was there, Mooney was floating around, our lovely Danny Earls was tabling beside Frank Miller.
Yeah. I saw on Instagram he was like, he lost his shit. He was like, tabling at New York Comic Con, and
wouldn't you though?
You would though.
Being a Batman guy and being put beside Frank Miller, holy shit.
I met some lovely people. I got to meet Jay introduced me to Heather Antos, who was really lovely.
Nice.
And ate some phenomenal pizza, ate some really nice French food, drank a lot of Starbucks. Normally I'm in anybody but Starbucks when I'm in Ireland, but I got to America and they had an apple crisp oat milk macchiato, which is basically like cinnamon apple pie in a coffee.
Holy shit.
And I am all about my apple cinnamon, so I was all over it like dip on a chip. I had a fucking whale of a time at New York Comic Con. I suppose it's the second biggest con in the States behind San Diego. Some of the guys were like, "Oh, you should go to San Diego to at least experience it once." I don't know if I will. I don't know if I'm.
It's a lot. It's very far to go.
Yeah.
It's very far to go. It's big con, and even the way that I did it this year, where I was kind of half an attendee, half an exhibitor, because I was giving Jay a handout with his booth. I got to be Bodhi. So Jay's book, Bodhi Troll, he commissioned a friend of his to make a Bodhi puppet. So Bodhi is controlled by two arms. You've one arm controlling his head and one his hand. And doing that in particular on the Sunday, which, you know, like with many of the cons we've attended over the years, Sunday is family day.
Yeah.
So like waving and high-fiving kids as Bodhi, or, you know, talking to them or singing at them or having the crack, and kind of beckoning people over to the table, and then giving them the pitch about the book, and, you know, successfully managing to sell it. Like Jay was like, I think I need to bring you to these shows. I think I need to hire you.
Hey, look, we've had that experience on the road tables. We literally let Jill just go and do her thing. Like,
well, to be fair to them both, Colm and Danny said the same thing when I caught up with them after the show. They were like, "You're a magician on the table, though."
But it's nice. It's nice. Even in GaelCon, the small creators, the small, like the artists in Artist Alley, make this beautiful art, and then they find it very hard to talk about.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to talk to strangers one after another.
Big
and
time.
having an outgoing person is such a
having a mouth like myself can be helpful.
You have to have the gift of the gab to be able to sell some stuff.
That's it.
You have to be able to engage.
Yeah, big time. And I got to see some really incredible cosplays in my wanders, and even because they all eventually come down to Artist Alley. And I suppose one of the things about New York Comic Con Artist Alley is the show floor closes at 7, but Artist Alley stays open till 8. So when the main sales floor closes, you'll find everybody coming downstairs for the last hour. So you get to see all the cool cosplays. I met a lovely man who's a friend of Jay's called Rick Lyon. And he did this. I put it up on my Instagram. He did this amazing split cosplay of Jim Henson and Frank Oz and Kermit and Fozzie. And he was standing there in front of me, and I was like, holy shit, that looks amazing. And then he started talking to me alternately as Kermit and Fozzie. And I was like, oh my God, it's them. Like it was spot on. I became a 6-year-old again.
You have to post a picture, Jill.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the page.
I think I've seen a picture of that. I think
I put it up on Instagram, and Rick was a lovely guy to chat to. So I think that was the Saturday he was there as Jim and Frank. Sorry, that was the Friday. On the Saturday, he was there as a very specific, you probably would know it, Wayne. It was basically Spock in a detective outfit, like a trilby and a
there was an episode from the TOS where they went back, and it was an episode where they landed on a planet. They had to get
and he looked amazing. And then on this and his
Wayne,
daughter,
is your mic all right there?
His daughter was dressed as Raven from
cool.
And then on the Sunday, himself and his daughter were 60s Batman and Robin, and they looked spectacular. And like Rick would have made those costumes from scratch. So I learned afterwards that he did actually work for the Jim Henson Company. He is the brains behind Avenue Q. And so his puppet making is phenomenal, and he was just such a lovely guy to chat to. So I felt quite privileged that I got to see his work in the flesh, because his Kermit and Fozzie were amazing. And I had such a great time. It was good fun. It was full on, because like New York Comic Con is 4 days, so it is like you're kind of tired by the end of it. I can only imagine what it's like being, you know, a vendor that's, you know, really busy, or
Yeah.
somebody on Artist Alley who's like constant. Even the interactions that I did. And I was, you know, I was also the coffee girl. I'd show up in the morning with coffees for myself and the guys. But it was so much fun. It was really nice being back in the city and kind of reclaiming the city and being in spots that I had been before, or like things like walking the High Line, which is an old elevated train track that they've turned into a linear park. Like there was a whole
It's so
extension.
pretty.
It's so pretty. There was a whole extension on that wasn't there 6 years ago, that goes all the way around Hudson
Ooh.
Yards.
Ooh.
So like being able to kind of, like, I just kind of kept walking. Like I think I walked down as far as 10th Street and then crossed
Nice.
over and got up on the High Line and walked back to 34th.
Lovely.
That was really nice. And it was cold but sunny while I was there. So it was I got kind of the best weather.
Myself and Kim were at GaelCon last weekend.
GaelCon.
I hadn't been to GaelCon in a good part of maybe 20 years.
Wow.
And the vibes were exactly the same.
Unchanged.
In a good way.
In a very good way.
In a good way, Jill. I mean, one of my complaints was like I felt bad that I knew about these amazing cons going on and the word just wasn't getting out.
Yeah.
Right.
And like the hungry kids need to know that there are, you know, proper legit nerdier cons out there, you know, the card games, board games, war games cons.
Yeah.
But they're getting their people. Their people are finding out about them. I mean, casuals like me may have been brought, you know, but it was unfortunate because GaelCon used to be in Clontarf Castle, and there were huge areas for everything. There's so much space. And there were obviously lots of common areas that you could chill out in. But the venue this year has everybody in rooms. They've taken meeting rooms. It's a convention center. So they've taken meeting rooms. The RPGs are in here, the RPGs are in here, the card games are in here. So the trade hall is big, and there's a panel room. But I'd say until later, I presume they must put seats in the bar at some point, but until later, there's no place where you can sit and randomly start playing a game with someone or just talking to people. But let's not fucking lie to ourselves. These people, you know, talking to people might be their fucking nightmare. And you watch people playing games on a level that's unreal. But I was there for one reason, and that was for my son to get to play game of D&D with a DM that I trust to make his first experience playing with actual kids enjoyable. And holy shit balls, Wayne, will you tell us about the game I saw? Now, you did loads that weekend, but the game I saw was your first one on the Saturday, and just tell us about these kids. So I thought, by the way, I walked in and I saw the vibes, and I'm like, oh, these are his usual library kids. Like Patrick's just an interloper here. Like he knows these guys.
Nope.
Apparently not.
So Fingal, I will say this, right? Big shout out to Fingal Libraries and Dublin City Libraries. They have been doing these sessions for kids to get them into TTRPGs for a long time, and I've been very happily involved in it. I've been doing sessions in Malahide and Baldoyle. I did events out in Swords for the last couple of years, and they've been a joy to be a part of. They've got a really good, dedicated team of people that care about the kids and care about getting them into a kind of a hobby that they, as a community, can like really, really get into, meet friends, just socialize and stuff like that. And they really, this particular group, and I wasn't aware of this, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't aware of this until I landed in that day. This particular group was specifically for kids with sensory needs. Right?
Oh, that makes so much sense.
All right. So these group of kids all had sensory needs. And as a parent who has a child who has sensory needs, this is a much needed resource. And they had a series of sensory toys out for the children to play with. And like the age group was from 8 to 16. That was the age bracket, right? They were all fantastic. Some of the kids knew each other. Some of them were related. There were sisters there, but they'd seen each other at these different sessions from different libraries and different games. But I had never played with them before,
Okay.
right? So one or two of them had known each other, but as a group, they'd never played together. So Patrick had joined in on the first game. There was a cap on the players. There was like 6 players per table, and it was the first game was a predetermined scenario that the libraries had written that I had to run. But of course, me being me, I kind of butchered it a wee bit and chopped it down and made it fit into the hour and a half to 2 hour slot that was given to me to run the game. And the kids I laid out the plot and they ran with it. They were fantastic. Trust me when I say the futures of TTRPGs with this current generation is well and truly safe. They are brilliant. They know what they want to do with a game. They know how they want to play it. And as a team and as a group that were literally thrown together, they gelled immensely. It was
They
beautiful to
really
watch.
did. Jill, the choices they made, it was so sweet to see them making like kid choices. But also at one point the giant basilisk they were fighting, one of the kids used polymorph to change it into a sheep. And Wayne, by the way, your bars were incredible. So it's a sheep. Now, most of the group said leave it as a sheep. Patrick Brosnan decided that it's going to turn back into a basilisk when we least expect it, and it's going to be a bigger threat. We need to kill it now. And it's horrible to watch your kid being a problem. But he was like, no, we need to deal with this. And they're all going, no, I don't think we should. As a group, I don't think we should. And he's like, no, I'm gonna smack this bitch. And we're like, oh my
He
God.
loves the drama. Like his
He
mom.
loves the drama. But the best thing, I was like, oh, he's been a little shit in this game. This is so bad. And so then, Wayne, so he says, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And he goes to leave. And one of the girls goes, hey, Patrick, what would frighten a basilisk? And like I'm like, oh no, they trust him. It's okay. Like they don't hate him. He hasn't been doing this
So,
the whole time.
I
Like
will follow this up with say that in fairness to Patrick, throughout the entire game, he became their player's guide. So whenever there was a question asked of me to give them like, so what's the ruling on this, DM? What's the ruling on this? What's the ruling on this? I would give them the ruling, but then Patrick would expand on that ruling because I would give them like,
oh
you were a
no.
bunch of no. I mean this in a good way, right? He was fantastic. He at not one point did he overstep anything in any way, shape, or form. So I would give them the basic ruling of what was required in that moment. But then Patrick would give them a piece of information that made it relevant to them as kids, that me as an adult would not probably be on that same level, which is to be expected. But Patrick had explained it to them in a way that they were like, okay. So it came to a point where he had done something that they did not agree with. But when he got up to leave, they needed some information to give them a choice to maybe counter what he had said. But they turned to him for the information, not me, because he had put himself in a place where he was full of information, which was fantastic because
no way, that's really annoying. That's
not annoying
a
at all.
challenge of authority. No,
It's
he's
not,
being a shithead.
not in any way, shape, or form. He had put himself, the whole point of it is that the group, his party, had turned to him for how they should handle the situation.
That's the thing.
Handle the situation that he put them into.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a power dynamic that you want to have in a game in D&D or any TTRPG, where you're the one that causes the problem, but you're also the one that they go to get the answers to solve the problem. Come on. The kid knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing, but the whole point was that he would get to experience it as a group because the only way he can play is to DM. He's the only one in this fucking house that knows the rules of D&D, and if anyone watches me playing D&D, they know that. So, like, he, like you, Wayne, the forever DM, and just the idea of him being able to play with kids his age. But it was really wild to watch them. They at certain points, Jill, the concept of your turn was out the window. And I was worried at the beginning they were kind of too sensible for their age. I'm like, oh no, you don't have to worry about that.
I will say I played it as a DM. I played it less like D&D than I did with I just had it as an open collaborative storytelling piece. It was not about from the get-go. I said to them, this is not about the rules. This is not about kind of what the rule books say. It's about you guys having fun as a collaborative storytelling piece. So let's have fun together. And that was it. That was the essential piece. Because if you don't have that at that age group, like as a whole, if you don't give them that, they're not going to come back to it. They're not going to see that this is something they can enjoy. And if you have somebody who's a complete rules lawyer telling them, sorry children, this is how it would be, they see it as work. They see it as something that's a chore.
Absolutely.
And like the second
even
session,
adults see it that way, but like more important for kids, the number one aim should be for them to have fun. Like rules can come later.
Oh yeah, big time. And if at all, because I feel that the world of TTRPGs are now skewing towards the idea of collaborative storytelling more so than now. That being said, I have played games and I play games with people that enjoy heavy rule set games, and that's fine. And that there's moments for that, and there are games for that.
And GaelCon has places for those people,
Yes.
and there's only so many places in your life where you can behave like that, where you can just, every mechanism has a rule behind it and a law behind it. And people find that fucking lovely. People who are analytical like that, they just love to, like, this is life, but with rules that I understand, and it's so important to have those games. I just wouldn't be able to play one.
No, I like both sides of that coin. I really do. There's moments where I just want to get my heavy rule set games where it's fully analytical, fully strategic. I love those games, but I also want to be able to flip the coin and say, right, let's go full on collaborative storytelling and forget about the rules. If you wanna just do something completely fucking batshit crazy and it sounds cool and it gives you that rush of adrenaline, let's fucking do it. And I think for that particular group, that was key. The Fingal group had basically laid out the same story for both the morning session and the afternoon session.
Right, that was going to be my next question.
Well, that's the thing. So
how the afternoon went.
The problem was that the afternoon session was pretty much the same bunch of kids. Or maybe I had Pat wasn't around, and then I had two more kids that turned up as well to play, right? Because they had so much fun in the first session, they immediately left and went down and signed up for the second session.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So in the half an hour I had between sessions, I had to completely write a whole module and piece to have going in the second session, which was fine. And the kids, we had a blast. So essentially I came up with the idea they were a bunch of adventurers that had landed into a town on their way to a big city for a guild meeting, and the town itself had been infested by a fungal demigod that it had instilled a poison into all the villagers and turned them into plant people. And they had to basically find the demigod and not get infected. Out of the 7 members of players I had, 4 of them got infected by the end and were part of the hive mind. So it was all swings and roundabouts. It all jumped around the place, and they had a lot of fun telling the story. And that was the main thing. And it was so good to see this bunch of kids enjoy each other's company, enjoy the game, enjoy the fun, and for them to leave happy from a convention that it was all about gaming, because that's what GaelCon is. It's all about gaming, from war games to tabletop gaming to board games, which I had fully dedicated spaces for, to RPGs. Shout out to Rory from Warhammer, the Warhammer store, who I met the day before in Warhammer when I was buying a set of Chaos Marines, and I just started talking. He's like, "Oh, what are you up to this weekend?" I says, "I'm off to GaelCon." He's like, "Oh, I'm running the RPGs at GaelCon." So it turns out that one of the lads that working in Warhammer whose name is Rory, was also running the games at Warhammer. And then I ran into him there as well at the show. But the beautiful thing about it, it's been 20 years since I went to GaelCon. I rocked up. I could count on maybe 2 sets of hands, like 20 fingers, the amount of familiar faces I saw 20 years later at the same show, that were all extremely welcoming, happy to see me at the show. When I was telling them what I was doing there, they were like, "This is amazing." From like you know, like people that were involved in tabletop gaming to vendors. Like I barely got to step into the trade hall for like 2 minutes in between games. And I got to see a few familiar faces. I know there was like, you know, there was a rake of artists. There was a people that were selling figures and board games and other stuff. And it was just a beautiful event that was just all about enjoying the community. And it was so
Yeah.
nice to see. And I think there's so many shows like that out there that people can experience that are outside of the massive conventions that are
Yeah.
Yeah.
these fan run events. But GailCon has been going for so long. Like as you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
GailCon
it's the
36.
OG.
Was it
Yeah,
36? Yeah. So like
36.
Wow.
36 years. Like I was 10 when the first GailCon started.
Do you
So
know what was a delight? And it's one of the things I always enjoyed at cons, but there's way more of it. Now, I was at that con for such a short time because like I had planned on bringing one child, but the other one wanted to come, even though I didn't think there would be anything there. Like, you know, I didn't think that they would find anything interesting, but it turns out the communion money and the trade hall, the artist alley went very far. Also, she won a 45 euro prize with a 2 euro spin in the thing. Oh my God. So a
Nice.
lifelong love of gambling has started. But one of my favorite things was
no, props to
like
Bex. She did say when you said to her gambling is she did turn around. I remember this on the stairs as we were leaving. She goes turn around and says gambling is bad. She actually said gambling is bad. So
oh, they know
Bex
what
is
to say.
yeah.
Yeah, they know what to
But
say. It's what they do is another thing.
Jill, do you know what there was so much of, even though it was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon? Awkward cross-dressing. You know, where you're just going somewhere where you're so comfortable. You know, I'm going to
Yeah.
Fibbers, so there's like no bra. Or so, you
Yeah.
know, I'm going to Fibbers, so I'm wearing boy shorts and their dress is too short. Like you
Yeah.
just don't care because you feel like you can be yourself and
Yeah.
nobody's gonna be in a place of
Yeah.
judgment. Just a man, male presenting with a skirt on.
Oh yeah.
Not even a nice skirt. You know, that just
a skirt.
they're just comfortable and they're like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a freak. These are my friends. I'm a little bit of a freak. I'm just gonna try this. And who knows where it goes? Who knows where it goes? Because you start off just letting a little bit, tiny little bit loose. No makeup, bit of a skirt. Who knows in 5 years? Who knows? Could be full geesh in 5 years. But to go somewhere where you're like, I'm just gonna do this. And I love to see though there's a lot of versions of I'm just gonna try this here because I'm comfortable here. And it's really nice. I love it. Anyway, but I would say that because I'm in a cult of nerds.
But that's GailCon. GailCon has always been like that. Always been like that. Extremely. I remember the first year I went to GailCon, I'd never LARPed before, ever. And I ended up doing 3 LARPs. I got tossed into a couple of different LARPs. And I won 2 awards at the end of the weekend because it was just so like, we're going to welcome you into what this is.
Yeah.
And let's
They
just
rig
go
it
for
for new. They love to see enthusiasm
Yeah.
and they love to see they love to see someone being won over by the
Yeah,
thing. They like to
newbies getting
reward
stuck
that.
in.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so look, folks, GailCon, it's obviously just gone. It happens every year around the Halloween time.
Around Halloween, yeah.
That the Halloween bank holiday, that's when GailCon happens. If you're listening to this and you're interested, you've never been before, make sure you chalk it down
Mark
for
your
GailCon
calendars for
Guys, I think we
calendar.
should go Pubcast, stick it on the company card. You know, we should all go to WarpCon, drink a feed of Murphy's, and just you know.
I have a soft spot in my heart for WarpCon because
Me
that's
too.
where I won the Jane hat. The Jane hat came from WarpCon. So I have, for anyone that doesn't know this, if you're listening to the podcast and you don't know this, I own one of the 2 screen worn Jane hats from Firefly, and I won it at WarpCon. Yeah. So, yeah.
Nice.
The WarpCon is amazing. WarpCon is a fantastic show. So yeah, no, definitely.
Get an excuse. Bring the family down to Cork. Get the family down to Cork. Also, they cosplay there, so you know, I don't.
Oh yeah. Folks, this has been a hell of a podcast. We have talked about all manner of shite.
Yeah.
And if there's anything you can take from this at the end of the day is maybe go see Megalopolis cinema.
Experience
Said it.
Shiiiit.
Watch out for the ghosties tomorrow. We love you.
Yes, have an amazing Halloween. Obviously,
Yeah.
you'll be listening to this after Halloween, so I hope you had an amazing spooky time. And be safe. Watch out for rogue fireworks. Keep your pets inside. Look after them. Give them cuddles because they don't realize that scary season is just a bit of crack.
Doesn't matter what your costume is. Get your legs out. Get your legs out.
Get
Men,
your
women,
legs out for
babies,
lads.
get your legs out. Yeah, get your legs out. You won't regret it.
I think we've understood from this whole episode is that Kim is the one horny fucking bitch.
Yes.
Just all about the perv. All about the perv. Dear Lord.
I'm does my blood not run? I don't know. I don't. I'm not going to defend that. I'm just going to sit here, do this,
Don't. We don't
and
expect
say
you to.
happy
Just
Halloween.
It's just
Have a good
plain
Samhain, folks.
facts. Plain
Yeah.
facts. Right. He has sound what? Look after yourselves. This has been
Have a
Pubcast.
good one. Bye.